Good afternoon. Pete Wildebohr.
Turn this on so you can hear me this time. I am present.
Melissa Mason.
Here.
Josie Barnhart.
Here.
Pat Bradford.
I am here.
Judy Justice.
Here.
Dr. Tim Merrick.
Present.
And David Perry.
Here.
And when we get to it, the Pledge of Allegiance will be done by our own Judy Justice. So they like you. Your name pops up there every time. So, all right. If you will stand for a moment of silence in honor of Memorial Day yesterday. As we remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Okay, now we could have our invocation, please.
My name is Jermaine Armour, and I am the pastor of the St. Luke Church here in the great city of Wilmington. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, in some circles you are known as teacher. So we ask that you would bless every teacher in our school system and every employee in every school. Christ came to us not as an adult, but as a child. So, Lord, bless every child enrolled in our school system and those who will soon be school-aged children. And, Lord, bless our school board members with wisdom, insight, and love as they lead us in the development of our most precious gifts, our children. This we ask in the name of Christ. Amen.
Justice.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do welcome Mr. Ames as our attorney today. Appreciate you being here, sir. Eames? Yes, sir. Eads. I'm sorry, Mr. Eads. I apologize. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Welcome. I do thank you, everyone, for being here today. We'll carry on with the approval of the agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? First and second, any discussion? Dr. Merrick.
Yes,
And again, this is for today's, not...
this is for today's agenda. I was concerned that what was placed on today's agenda was not completed until Sunday night when we had a conversation. Now, I'm not saying it was intentional that the LifeWise issue was left off of the agenda, but it is concerning because it is such a divisive topic. You know, there's a lot of people who have been asking me, and I'm sure asking every other board member here, about what's happening with this issue. The fact that it did not show up on the agenda until the very last minute, in fact, not until I asked questions about it, means that we didn't have time to address it. So I make a motion that we take LifeWise off of today's agenda and put it on next month's agenda review.
But it's not, again, that's not today's agenda. Today's agenda is that we'll talk about it. When we get to that, we can do that. But right now, we're talking about today's agenda, which is the agenda review agenda.
Fair enough.
Not next week's agenda.
I will say it all over again in a few minutes.
And I'll listen again, very intently.
Thank you, sir.
But again, for today's agenda, is there any discussion? If not, all in favor of today's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay, that passes 7-0. Now we will carry on with the review of proposed items. As normal, when we get to something that that anyone has a concern with or would like to further discuss or has a question about, I know we have a whole bunch of MOUs, and there is, and the reason, I know there's a lot of, several of you, when I called, had discussions about why are we doing what we are at the end of the fiscal year. So it's, a lot of these carry on until next year. But again, if there's any we want to pull off or discuss further, we can do that either today or again next week. Call to order, of course, for next week. Roll call, invocation. Did you have your hand up? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, keep going.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Presentation, colors, national anthem. Would anybody like to sing? No, I'm kidding. Pledge of Allegiance. Who would like to do the pledge this year? Mr. Perry. All right. Mr. Perry will be doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Approval of the agenda, approval of the minutes, committee reports. I think we may have a few. Does anybody have one that they know of already? Yes, ma'am?
We'll report on Wednesday, our committee.
Okay. Okay.
Which committee was that, sir?
Legislative.
Legislative.
No, finance capital and bond.
Oh, finance,
But
capital.
you had a finance meeting. I mean, didn't you have a legislative meeting?
Capital and bond, okay. Recognitions, 20 minutes. 20 minutes good? Okay. And I know we're at the end of the year again, so not anymore. If you need it. 25. I'd rather have it labeled out, and that way we know. So 25. Ms. Mason, I have failed to ask you for the third month in a row, but if you would, please keep up with our numbers.
You didn't even need to ask.
There you go. Student voice, 10 minutes. June, teacher voice, we are going to have one, yes? Okay, 10 minutes. Superintendent's report, 5 minutes.
Yep.
My report, 5 minutes. Information, we have the North Carolina Teaching Work and Condition Survey report. How long do you think that we will take?
It's going to take me 10 minutes to give it to you. I'm pretty happy with the results of where we are, so as much time for questions as you need, I would say, I would say 15 should do it.
15, okay?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ms. Barnhart?
Thank you. I would just ask, I was also pleased with the results after looking through it, but there were some areas of concern. And so if you're just ready to kind of share some of the things that we're looking at to improve some of this, perfect, as long as that's in there.
The analysis is going to have both positive and areas for improvement.
Ms. Bradford?
And I am pleased with it as well, and looked over what you've given us, but I'm thinking we're going to want to discuss, so we might want to add a little bit more time to that one. Instead of just the presentation, we might want to have some back and forth discussion.
So 20? 20? Okay, let's go to 20. All right, 20 minutes for that. Call audience is 60 as always. The consensus items will go one by one. If you have a question, again, now would be a great time to see, and then we can maybe hopefully keep the consensus items down to 10 minutes. But if not, we'll further discuss it next week. MOU between Spark Labs, NC, Boys and Girls Club of Southeastern North Carolina, and New Hanover County Schools renewal.
And Chris will do try to organize these so all the renewal ones are clumped together at the beginning.
Yeah, I like
Yep.
that.
Maybe we just ask
Thank
if
you.
there's anyone who has a problem with any of the renewals, right?
Right, right.
Well done.
So any questions to that, Ms. Perry?
On that one or any one with renewal?
Well, let's go ahead and save time today. Any of the renewals?
Okay, we have, under AC, contract extending into fiscal year 2027.
AC?
It's not a renewal. but
We're
it's-
just talking about the
Is that a,
renewal.
is that a
doing them in
renewal?
order.
Yeah, so the renewals actually ends
With Q.
with Q. So anything between A and Q.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
that must not, then that must be something new then.
Okay, well-
I wasn't sure if it was or not.
Yeah, okay.
The only other one I want to know about then is, that would be renewal, which was the P.
P.
So,
Hanover County?
can we, just, it looks like we, could somebody just explain to me the champs, and is that a classroom management thing kind of too, with behavior stuff?
It's not.
I know we've been using the other one that just got hacked, and then, how many different classroom management tools are we using?
Which one are you on?
Which one do you want?
P.
P?
He is in Paul?
P as in Paul. MOU between New Hanover County Schools Early Learning
If you go,
Academies.
if you go
Head
into,
Start.
if you go into P, there's a cost figure, and it's talking about using champs and,
Okay. Pull it up.
So that is my MOU. I'm trying to find where you are. What page are you looking at on the MOU?
let me open it up in the browser here, I guess. It didn't get, I guess the attachments didn't get printed out, so. I wrote down notes, but obviously that wasn't good enough, so.
Early Learning Academy, okay, talks about that. Permission agreement. Supportive learning environment for children.
What page?
I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, but it's,
All parties agreed to.
let me open it up here.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
don't see anything.
Mr. Wildebohr,
Yes,
I just
ma'am.
want to offer a clarification. Q is the item that has CHAMPS and the other safe and civil schools components.
Oh, that's
I
right
heard
here,
that
too.
asked
Oh,
as a
maybe that's
question.
the one I'm asking
Okay,
about.
we're looking, thank you. So we won't find it here. P is definitely not where we want to be.
Ms. Farnham, appreciate that.
Q.
Q, let's try Q. All right, any questions, Mr. Perry, on Q?
Let me open Q up. Just
$176,000.
Right, yeah, that's the one. I apologize for the P. Yeah, and it's basically using, we're talking about using
Champ Stoic.
CHAMPS, Stoic. And so I'm just trying to figure out how many, is that a classroom management system? How many different ones do we have here?
This is our main initiative for classroom management and for student engagement. So this is Safe and Civil Schools, and Cora Publishing is the parent company. And the reason I'm bringing this contract to you, it doesn't meet the dollar threshold, but it is a sole source contract, so I'm bringing it to you for that reason.
And Safe and Civil Schools is one of our 6 district focus initiatives to look at engagement and discipline across the county.
Okay, so this tool is only for behavior management versus other academic progress?
So this really is not just about addressing student behavior. This is about setting classrooms up for success and focusing on student engagement, so it does benefit instructional practices and student performance in the classroom. So it does that together.
Does this the whole district use it?
We're pretty close to district-wide, but it is a district initiative, as Dr. Barnes said, in our strategic plan. It is basically a focus for how we are addressing problem solving within the educational environments.
And if you remember when we talked about STOIC, that framework where all of our strategic plan things are built off of, STOIC is a part of the Safe and Civil Schools model.
So when people have been using Canvas, that's something different?
Oh, yeah.
Completely.
Yes, that's a learning management system. That's different than this. This is professional development for our teachers.
Okay, I just want to clarify that, that's all.
As I'm reading the MOU, it says contract for service, Safe and Civil Schools training services. So it's training our staff on Safe and Civil Schools, correct?
All the components of Safe and Civil Schools, yes, professional development.
Ms. Barnhart?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question about a different one, so if the board is.
Another one, renewal?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
It's with C.
C.
Dragonfly Athletics, and I know this is a renewal, it's been around before, but I asked questions on it. But we know there's been a couple of different entities, Canvas, the most recent, to be hacked, and so looking at our athletics, I'd like to talk about what information this organization is actually storing of our student data and just kind of some clarity of that. I know we have, looks like it's a 3-year commitment. It's, from my understanding from last time, it's basically just helping us organize all of the athletics department. It's not, but I would just like some clarity of what
Sure.
information source.
Ms. Barnhart?
Yes, me again. This is the state-determined system for enrolling our athletes by parents. So parents put the information in. This includes all information regarding their eligibility, their demographic information that, again, is provided by parents. And then this is also the system that we use to pay our officials that are providing those services at our contests.
Sorry,
Mayor?
Ms. Farnham, is this mandated that we use this program, or is this a choice that we use this program?
It would be really cumbersome if we did not use this program consistent with the state.
That was my question.
Okay, the other hand, no? Oh, yes, ma'am.
So my only follow-up to that is, do we have any flexibility of what we are required to take in from parents in order for our students to play, or is what
Yes, and we don't ask for any information that isn't necessary for determining eligibility.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else under the renewal before we get into the other part? Going once, going twice, going three times? Good. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to anything after Q that you'd like to discuss. Yes, Mr. Perry.
AC,
AC, which is contracts extending to fiscal year
there's
2027.
something called land school. Somebody explained that, and I looked up land school, and again, I don't know which one we have, but there's an option for installing on our local servers, and there's also a cloud subscription service involved with it, so which one are we using?
So, yeah, it's under,
It's under CTE.
yeah, under
Land
CTE.
School is the lab management software that allows our teachers to control and monitor what students are doing on their lab computers. And that is something that we have been using, that is a renewal.
Is it a third-party application hosted on the cloud where our data is commingled with data from other school districts? Or is it running on one of our own servers?
I don't know the answer to that right now. I think it's something that's installed, but I can verify that before Tuesday.
We can have that for next week, sure, I would say.
But just for clarification's sake, this sounds a little bit like, we used to have a different program that we used to, I'm sorry? It seems to me that we used to have a different program where we would be able to see what students are doing on their computer and making sure they're not using it inappropriately. Is this what this program does? Land
Well, it
School.
monitors what they're doing on their lab computers, that's correct. Did you ask at the very beginning, did we used to use a different program? Is that what you said? Okay.
Before I came on the board, I know there's a great deal of concern about a specific program that was being used, that we were, spying on kids or something
No.
like that, you know what I mean?
Lightspeed, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, probably. But what I'm saying is, this is a way that we can tell that students are doing the work and not doing other
Right.
things on their computers, which I'm
Correct.
very much in favor of. Thank you.
And I don't think that it records the information, so we'll verify that.
Yes, so we'll have that for next week, so maybe we want to pull that one off to discuss it further, so we can get those clarifications. Ms. Barnhart?
So I'm going to jump back again, Mr. Chair. Two things with you, the UNC Chapel Hill MOU. Is this just a new because we have more interns coming from there? I'm looking at Jen way down there. Or
So,
Jen.
review.
the MOU with UNC Chapel Hill?
Yes, we haven't had interns from there, so we're re-engaging.
Oh, good.
And how many do you have with that?
This is just the interest at this point in time, so without the MOU in place, we wouldn't have started. So this allows us to place interns.
And then my other question, Mr. Chair, is with W, the authorization of increase in micro purchase threshold resolution. And I see that we're being asked to increase basically the non-approval threshold to 30 to 50,000. So if there be some clarity of where we are currently with that and the justification. I mean, I'm looking over the resolution again, but just to see if you hear from that. About that.
Yes, sure. So this is an annual resolution that we bring to the board at the end of each year in preparation for the upcoming year. So, and it's related to federal. So currently, local governments who receive federal funding, when you're purchasing items with federal funds, you have to bid out anything over $10,000. So whether it's a good or a service, if the purchase is more than $10,000, you have to bid out. This resolution lets us increase that threshold to the state requirement. So 30,000 for goods, and actually the state has no requirement for services. We don't have to bid those out, but that is definitely a best practice. But it would raise from 10 to 50 for services.
Which would align with the state requirement.
Right, that's correct.
Mr. Perry?
Yeah, I'm opposed to this. I think we need to be saving money wherever we can. And to be able to say, oh, well, you can now spend up to $30,000 and not even get a bid, it just gets people too comfortable and, oh, well, we've been buying this all the time and not looking for ways to save our school district money, and we're under the crunch. And also, you know, there was something that we passed in policy last year, I believe the board did, is that we wanted to make sure that, you know, local businesses got preference, you know, and that we could encourage them to take that. And when we have these kinds of non-bid situations, we are not opening it up to our local businesses who contribute greatly to what we're doing here. And I think we should just leave it alone.
Well, let's say maybe we can pull that off for further discussion in front of everybody, and then also we can vote against it. Ms. Bradford?
I wanted to ask Ms. Sutton, it seems to me at the end of 24, early 25, we did something like this, not federal money, but it was the company out of New Bern. We got them to consult and look at the finances. And if we had to go through the bid process, because I know it was more than $10,000, but it was definitely less than 50. And they saved us $500,000 every year and by having that consult. But we would have had to then, if it was at the federal level, we would have had to then go through the formal bid process where you create the bid, you put it out, you do the interviews, all of that. Okay. A much more lengthy process.
That's correct.
And am I correct in thinking that you you shop around all the time, from what I understand?
Yeah, we still look for quotes and look for the best price. We just don't go through that formal process. And once again, this would just be related to federal funds. We already have those thresholds for the state and local.
Thank you.
Okay, so, and Ms. Perry?
I just want to say, and I'm glad to hear that. The one thing I just want to know is that we, as a board, we don't see your work in that regard. We don't see what you're doing to cost save, and the public doesn't get to see it either. So they don't know if we're wasting money or not. So it might be helpful in the future if you've done a little cost comparison shopping, you know, to bring that to the board in front of the cameras so that you can see that, you know, you are being fiscally conservative with the taxpayers' dollars.
I think that would be the assumption regardless.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, I do know that we are watching, and I do know that you do keep bringing us cost savings, for which I'm very grateful, Ms. Sutton. You know, the increase in savings on the insurance program that allows us to have the pause for people, folks back in, right? Things like that, we do know. We are having our finances audited yearly, and you're getting tremendous marks each time we do it because of your stewardship of our money. I mean, I can appreciate what my colleague is saying, because if it wasn't for you, we might have to keep a tighter watch on things. But I just want you to know that I at least feel very confident in your stewardship.
Me too.
And I'll echo that. Yeah, I agree. So right now we have, unless there's other things, we have 10 minutes allotted. We have at least 2 policies we want to pull off. So is the 10 minutes?
I got one more thing.
You have one? Okay.
Did you say policies?
I'm not, I'm policies ahead. Yes, consensus items, I'm sorry. Yes.
AD, I just want to, what is the DDC upgrades to Bellamy? Can somebody just tell me what that is?
Yes, sir. That is the digital control system for our HVAC system over at that school.
Okay, great.
So I would say we probably, unless we have one more.
I'm asking all my questions now, so I'm not planning to pull most of these. But the Sam's landscaping and maintenance, Dr. Morgan, if you would be able to speak to that. I know we've talked about trying to reduce pesticide use and things like that, so I don't know if it was kind of embedded in this renewal, so prior to adopting it, like to about that.
And what, I'm pretty sure, what letter?
Why?
Why?
Sam's landscaping and maintenance LLC.
Yes, so one of the things that we had talked about specifically in the, what's the Sustainability Committee, thank you, I apologize. One of the things we had talked about is trying to embed language in our RFP that would invite vendors to submit proposals that would minimize the use of products that include glyphosate. Glyphosate is the product in
Roundup.
Say that again?
Roundup.
Roundup, yes, sir. it is the chemical in Roundup that people don't like. It's not a good thing. So what we tried to do is we put it in the RFP that we, as the owners, are working towards minimizing our use of that product as much as possible, and we invited vendors to submit proposals with that in mind. So part of the issue that I think we're finding is we've got to have willing participants when we put these RFPs out. We can't force companies to use products that either they don't want to use, they don't think work, or that we specifically want them to use if it's not something that we can afford. So for example, we have specifically gotten quotes on certain products where we've asked the vendors to say, if we asked you to use this, what would it look like cost-wise? And unfortunately, in several cases, we had 3 different vendors report back. Those costs would go up quite a bit, $15,000, $16,000 per bid. So what we've tried to do is to encourage them to respond with their proposals, their bids, in a way that would, take our interest into consideration. We did get 3 different vendors who submitted bids. To be honest, we're looking to move forward with all 3 of them. It's just we're working with them in different capacities because of what their capability is. So the one that is before you for Sam's Landscaping is the only one of the 3 that can handle the magnitude of our sites that this contract is for. The other one that is in there is Sweetwater. We'd like to award them contract to work with some of our schools, but they also do all of our athletic fields, and that's just a different project altogether. So to answer your question, our goal is to try and get vendors out there to realize this is what we're working towards. This is, we're going to have questions about it. We'd like to move forward with it. To my knowledge, none of them specifically quoted using products like some of the ones we have talked about during Sustainability Committee.
I just wanted to highlight that because this is kind of a new directive that we're trying to do. So.
It is. And I think, too, I'll take it one step further just to say that I've asked Mr. Walker, Director of Maintenance, he had reached out to sort of his colleagues around the state to find out what they were doing. Unfortunately, I don't know that he got any feedback from anybody in that forum.
Ms. Bradford?
Staying on that, Sam's contract, that's a renewal, but some of his duties are being farmed out to other people. So is he getting paid the same amount for doing less work?
No, that's not what I meant. I apologize. It is a contract with Sam's, but there are other vendors we are doing contracts with for specific sites because Sam's we don't feel like they've got the capacity to do all of our sites.
Have we always done that?
We have.
Multiple? Okay,
Yes.
so that was my other question. And then on the Sweetwater with the athletic fields, does that include the bit that we lost that the county's no longer going to do for the fields at Ashley? Veterans Park, sorry. Veterans Park.
So, no. The land that we are taking over maintenance for at Veterans Park it's school grounds. We were already maintaining the athletic facilities there.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Merrick?
I'm not on the Sustainability Committee. I do appreciate the work very much. I think, to me, the way I'm hearing it is that the Sustainability Committee should probably come to the full board, and so we can make decisions about priorities. I hear that it's going to cost more or that it's difficult to find the vendors who will work with us, but that means we just have to make a decision on a board level of how important this is and how committed are we to doing it. And I think that's a really worthy conversation. I'd love to have that with you.
When we do committees, it'll have a great time to maybe bring those things forward.
We haven't had one in a while, but
Okay.
it was.
Yeah,
Mr. Perry?
yeah, I agree. I think we need to hear it. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like this is what we want to do. We want to get away from this, but we're finding it difficult and more expensive. So at some point, we have to draw the financial line and say, is the health of the kids or is it the budget? And it's tough. So it's something we need to decide.
I don't think anything we're currently using is endangering children, do you?
No, I think part of the concern is simply the fact that we do spot treat places around our campuses that using products that contain glyphosate. So that is documented. We have that on our website to show the chemicals that are being used. I think the concern is sometimes the belief that maybe we're doing these blanket applications because it's a concerning chemical and it is believed to be toxic. And what our folks are doing, what our vendors are doing is not that. They're not using these blanket applications. They're going around and they're spot treating places when the need arises, and they're doing it on a schedule which is posted. And if there's a need to deviate from that schedule, then we expect the schools to inform folks because they have to let us know. We send out letters. So to Dr. Barnes' point, no, I don't think that is the concern. I think the concern overall, and the reason it's been brought up, is there are products out there that get away from using that glyphosate. But again, the biggest concern is, are there vendors out there who are using those products? And based on the feedback we're getting from folks, the ones that are bidding on our work, they're not using those products right now.
Ms. Barnard.
And I think that's where, because you wrote the language of the RFP and RFQ that went out, like it was your team that was being able to make the decisions. So making sure that we have language in the MOU, like that's where conversation was, gosh, it's probably been over a year now, when the contract renewal of this came up. Can we make sure moving forward that our MOU clearly specifies that? And so this is the first opportunity as a board that we've had to bid out in a specific direction, and it's before, Robbie did a great job at explaining that, or sorry, talking about the different types and being able to utilize multiple companies with the goal of decreasing that amount of use or spot treating as needed. So I just wanted to highlight that because I don't think that that was a conversation. I'm looking at you, Melissa. Probably 2 years ago we started it of saying, how can we be more cognizant? And so I think initially we didn't have bids, but to hear that we had 3 ultimately is a good sign of being able to be competitive with what we want for the students. So.
Great, thank you, Dr. Merrick.
Yeah, if I remember, it was prior to my being on the board, but being here and listening to some of the conversations. I believe it was Evan Folds that brought the information to us about what was going on at Wrightfield Beach Elementary School. And so that was very concerning to everyone. I'm glad to hear that it's spot treatments and that people are being, notified. I do also believe, especially at this level, at a board level, policy drives operation. And so if we have a policy that says we will not use certain chemicals, then it's going to force us to go find those vendors that do. So I think that we have a responsibility to our kids to determine good policy, and that will drive what vendors and what RFQs we put out there.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Mason? No? I think so. Okay, anything else on our... Okay.
Just wanted to add one thing. I think, too, is that, these are substantial contracts, and I think if we do set a clear policy of what we want, if they want the money, they'll do what we want.
There you go. Yes, Ms. Mason. Ms. Mason's back.
I'm back.
She's back.
Just to clarify, we do have a policy on pest management. It is policy 9205. We can go into the specifics of that at some point, but just kind of wanted to bring that to your attention. 9205 is pest management. And I believe that there's expectations in there for what we can and cannot use. It's been a minute since I've read it. It's not, for funsies kind of reading.
Really?
I know. I don't read through the policy manual every day. But we do have it in policy. If there's anything we want to change, we can always send it to policy. And I believe in there it also talks about informing parents and families when and what pesticides are being used as well. Yeah.
And just to be clear, we also do have state guidelines that we are expected to follow. So I don't think we're missing anything, and I don't think that I wasn't a part of this group when the situation that Mr. Folds brought to the table, but I am aware of it. My understanding too is that the vendor that had used it at that time had sent somebody out and actually even agreed that that's not how that was intended to be used. And so one of our folks has said we have to make sure that they're never doing that again. So there have been quite a few follow-up conversations to ensure that what is being used is used in the best interest of our students and students, staff, grounds, everybody involved.
That's reassuring. Thank you. Sure.
Any other, not policies, but consensus items that we need to speak about? If not, we will speak about, oh, we were so close. We were so
No, I
close.
know. Well, I'm
Yes.
just going to highlight again a savings of $537 million to be reallocated to do more projects. So good job to the being under budget, and I like to say on time under budget, but 537 million to be able to, or 1,000, excuse me, to go. I know, that'd be great.
Yeah, problem solved.
I didn't see that decimal for a second there.
Leandro passed?
But that's awesome to continue to go down the list of things that we need to support.
Thank you, Ashley.
Now, we will talk to policy, we'll talk
hold
about
up.
policies.
How much time do we need for consensus?
I think we said 10 minutes.
You want to keep it at 10?
Let's leave it at 10.
Just so we're aware, because I am keeping track of time, that puts us right at about 3 hours, and we still have
Okay.
policy as well as old business on there. So we need to be very aware of how much time we're
Well, let's jump into policies, and you're in charge of that, so I'll
I
hand it over to you.
am. So the policies, there's only, oops, clicked on the wrong thing. There are only 5 up. One of them was brought forward by, actually by me, to ensure that we are just adding another layer of protection for our kids, and that is for getting background checks for board members. And then the other 4 are NCSBA changes. Many of them are strongly recommended, with some that are required. So I would say, I don't know if people want to pull. I do know that there's at least one board member that wants to add to one, and I don't know if anybody is going to want to pull any, so that's kind of going to.
Ms. Bradford, and then Mr. Perry.
Yes, I neglected in the policy committee meeting, we talked about it a bunch, but I forgot to tag on to that language. So if you go to 2120 Code of Ethics, what's in the red on page 3 of 4, where it says board members will be background checked. We talked about at great length about fingerprinting board members as well, and I forgot to make the motion to add that. So I'm going to move that when we come together next week. So it'd say board members will align to level 2 volunteer requirements and be fingerprinted, period.
Mr. Perry, and then Dr. Merritt.
Somebody please, the level, explain for the public too, what the level 2 volunteer requirements are.
Sir.
Fingerprinting.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
My,
Oh, it's included in it?
That's what level 2 means.
Okay, well, then.
Background check.
Step.
so that was a question, but now I've got, yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that we can put this in here, but there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, we can't kick the person off the board. What are you gonna do?
Keep them out of school.
I mean, well, you mean you can't come to board meetings because this is property too?
I mean, well, I mean, there's a lot of answers to that, but I'm going to let you guys talk about it, and then I'll tell you what I think. I mean, we have an attorney.
Well, a couple, yeah. We could, if someone does not pass a background check, something that we feel is unsafe to have around children, there are no children in this building right now. So I don't think that would stop us from having board meetings, but we could keep someone from visiting schools.
I would say, yes. Sorry?
I mean, I was going to say, I appreciate this step, but I also kind of echo my colleague's sentiment. Is there any action that we can take? I mean, I've already gone through this step personally because I volunteer in my kid's school, but is there any action step that this board could do if it comes out, any flag that potentially we'd have for an employee? I mean, are there, and maybe this is a question, I know you're filling in for Norwood today, sorry about it, but maybe it's a question for the attorney. Is there action step that the board can actually take with elected officials?
One of the responsibilities that you bequeath to me is the operation of the school system. So if it came that someone on the board had a issue that doesn't comply with our level 2 volunteer status, then I would have to restrict their visiting to schools. And that would be what I would do for anyone. Now, again, that level 2 volunteer is strictly about supervision as well. It sort of really ties into unsupervised movement within a building, right? So it's funny to even have this conversation, right? But if that so came, then they would not be able to go to schools unsupervised.
I'll be honest, because I was a principal and stuff, there were times that we had, like a parent that maybe was on the registry and was not allowed to come to the school, and there was, you'd have to meet with that person off campus and all that kind of thing, just because of that reason. So, there are, the primary and most important thing we can do is keep our kids safe. And whether that's, as Dr. Barnes has said, not restricting, that person would still be able to come to the board meetings. Yes, there are kids here, but they're not unsupervised with children. I would say, I think I'm correct in that they would, it would be very restrictive on that person, because they would not be able to have free access. I think our superintendent's given us, the ability to go to schools and visit schools and see all the great things that are going on in our schools. But, that if the person failed a background check or fingerprinting or both, I think that they would have to be restricted, from visiting schools and being around children. Which I don't know why somebody would, do that. Yes, sir.
I just want to make a point, and maybe a question too, at the end of it. Should there probably be a background check before you could file to become a member of the Board of Education? Probably, but that would require the state legislature making that assumption. They do that sort of thing if you want to become sheriff. You can't just fill out the papers in December to become sheriff. There's a background check you have to go through. You have to file before you file for sheriff. So where they go through, make sure you don't have any felonies and that sort of thing. So far, the General Assembly has not made that a requirement, so we're adding one. Second is, I guess it's more of a question, is obviously, I don't think problems, I'm sure I would pass easily, but what stuff are we looking at here? Are we looking at recent history? How far back do we go? Are we just looking for felonies? Is it child abuse situations, or what?
Geller, do you want to talk a little bit about what kind of things come up with fingerprinting?
I mentioned before that the background checks come back pretty quickly. Fingerprinting, there tends to be a little bit of a lapse. And that's where we will find more in-depth information. And there have been times where something that's been revealed in a fingerprint was not the case. It's not something that popped on the bib. So I definitely believe it's a more thorough, look back into someone's history. Of course, the choices that they've made. We have seen oftentimes older charges and convictions potentially, which are important based on what they may be. And like I've said, there have been times where, based on what we see in a fingerprint, we would not employ that person. Might not have been the case on a background check.
And generally, sometimes if something was expunged from your record, it may not show up in your bib, but it sometimes does show up on your fingerprint.
Correct.
The things that we look for are any felonies within the past 7 years, any crime with children involved, no matter when it was, and then we look for patterns of behavior. 2 or 3 DUIs versus 1. Or, if you're going to be a bookkeeper and you've got 3 embezzlement charges, probably not going to be making it. But it just depends a little bit on the position that they're holding. It depends on how long ago it was and how serious it was.
Point of clarification, are you saying BIB, is that the acronym for a background check?
BIB is the background check, fingerprinting is separate.
BIB, BIB.
BIB.
Learn something
That's
new.
already part of the level 2, so we wouldn't need to add that paperwork or that. Mason.
Just to provide some clarity, the whole reason that I brought this forward is based on the history of this county. This county has a terrible history, and we have allowed access to our kids for board members as well to be able to get into any building they want to get into. I'm just trying to, whether it does anything or not, I'm trying to add that layer of protection for our kids. To the point that was made by my colleague, that it's not a state statute. It isn't, and that's a problem. But we cannot wait for the state to make it one without protecting our kids. There are other states, New Jersey, I've done a lot of research on this because contrary to what people might think, I did do some research before just throwing this on there. New Jersey has state statute. North Carolina perhaps doesn't yet, but then we did some digging into what does North Carolina have, and the other county, the only other county in North Carolina that we could find through NCSBA was Rockingham County. I want to be proactive rather than reactive, and I want us to be able to protect our kids. And so I guess I'm puzzled as to why this is so much of a debate, but I did research. I don't want to wait for the state to figure it out. This county, our kids in this county deserve protection from any adult that could bring harm, and that was the point of it for me.
And I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't think we should wait. I do think, it just occurred to me because of all the discussion, our superintendent, Dr. Barnes, has said, well, you make determinations of who is allowed in the schools and who is not based on these background checks and these fingerprinting. And maybe it needs to say in here that it would be your determination, not the board's. It's not.
I think that that's generally accepted, right? Like that is one of my responsibilities.
Yes.
So I don't think that needs to be spelled out in policy specifically.
What I don't want is for us to think that now this board is going to decide which people are allowed in the schools or not. That's not our job. Okay, just be clear.
Ms. Brad?
And this is something that Ms. Mason's been talking about for quite some time. And I really pushed her to go ahead and do it after, I tried to volunteer in May 1st. And because I didn't have a level 2 background check for the schools, I and anyone else that wasn't allowed to help. And there could come a time when all 7 of us need to help. So it's going to be, either this board, the next board, whatever. And if everybody else in the school district has that level 2 background check, but we don't, what does that say about us?
I think it also shows a level of respect for our staff, that you are doing what every custodian, bus driver, front office worker, teacher assistant teacher does as well.
Thank you. I'm not opposed to this change at all. I'm just genuinely curious if there was things that we could change if something were to come up on anybody. And so it sounds like there is opportunity to say we're going to limit, if there was something that did come up that was a concern. So thank you.
Great. Justice, I haven't heard from you
Well,
yet.
everybody else is, basically, thank you very much, Ms. Mason. This is something that we need, especially with our history, which is very unique. And so it just says that we are willing to go all out of our way to make sure that at least the people in our position are going to be very, cognizant of the safety of our children. Okay, how important.
Mr. Perry.
And again, I think the goal, and I want to thank Ms. Mason for bringing it, the goal is good, obviously. I just see the logistical problems. This is part of, our ethics policy, which seems like we're adding another layer. And it sounds like we're coming to, and it's fine, I would trust that whatever decisions Dr. Barnes would make would be just, but I can just say that not always has the code of ethics been used as a shield, sometimes it's been used as a sword, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, right now we have 20 minutes allotted. No, we don't. We have 10 minutes allotted to policy consensus. Do we feel like we need more, or is that good for time? 10 minutes? We'll leave it at 10. All right.
Shortest policy conversation in years.
All right, let's carry on with Surrey.
Actually, I'm sorry.
You have something? Fair.
On the 4342 and 4318, where do those come from? Those come from, does those come from NCSBA?
So any of the other ones, the only one brought forward by myself was 2120. The remaining ones are NCSBA spring updates that have minor changes, phrasing, and I believe legal.
I think the 4318 could use a little bit of more clarity in that we're not outlawing people using phones during non-classroom instruction. We are only outlawing them to record people. 4318, there's new language in there about, that says that you can't use phones not only in the classroom, but you can't use it at other events unless they're deemed public in order to record people. But if you read it, it's not real clear whether we're prohibiting use of phones during all non-classroom instruction, or we're just saying you can't use it to record people.
It says students may not use wireless communication devices inside school buildings, at school-sponsored events, or on school buses to capture audio, video, or still pictures of other students. So.
Sounds good. But the two is kind of two sentences down the
Okay, we'll carry on with the Surrey Insurance. The reason this could have been under policy consensus items, but really because of the numbers and stuff, really that's why it was brought as a separate old business item. Any questions about that at this time? Yes, ma'am.
And I talked with Ms. Sutton earlier to understand, surety is the agent, but if you go into the general liability, including the sexual misconduct liability, that takes us to our good buddies at Liberty. And I'm not going to beat them up this year. I think the concessions they made last year were good, but did this go up, stay even, go down, our insurance, this batch of insurance?
Yep, so overall, looking at all the different insurances that have been provided in this document, it did go down approximately 50,000.
Wow.
So 2.52% decrease.
Good job.
Down.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Any other questions?
Proof of what we said earlier.
Same amount of coverage, yes.
Any other questions about this one? Now, dun, da, 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 I'm going to go duck. No, okay, we will not do that. Kidding, kidding, kidding. LifeWise.
Question, how much time for,
Okay.
are we separating old business, or are we keeping it all under 20 minutes, or what's?
What we have right now, it's under 20. That part shouldn't take very long. The other part probably is going to take more, unless we do something with it at this point, but that's up to you guys. LifeWise, sir, now.
Yes, based on the fact that this was added to the agenda at the very last minute, so that, even at the last minute, I do notice we have people here who are concerned about LifeWise. I know that we had over 1,000 signatures within a matter of, I think, a week and a half. There's a lot of upset in the public, and the fact that this was placed onto the schedule, whether inadvertently or not, at the last minute, I have to move that we strike it from this month's conversation and put it to next month, because there has not been enough time for even me to talk to the public who keep saying to me, hey, is that LifeWise thing come up again? I said, no, it's not even on the agenda. No, it's not even on the agenda. And then, oops, it's on the agenda.
I do want to make a clarification. The published agenda was not published until this morning, so it was on by that point. I just wanted
But we get access to the agenda a week earlier, but it was not on there for a week earlier.
Yeah.
We could have had a week earlier of conversing, of talking, of letting the public know.
Point of order, yes, ma'am?
I saw it Sunday night or Monday morning. Would that have been about right? And that's the one that's for internal, for board members only, because it's draft. And so why would we be giving it out to the public before it's posted for the public?
I like that.
I got a rule on point of order, and a rule.
So I'm just looking for the clarity
Oh,
in
so
here.
a point of clarification.
Yeah, actually, right.
Okay.
I'm looking for clarity, because
That is different. Go ahead.
it went up, when did it go up?
Well, and
I thought I saw it Sunday night.
I'm gonna, I try to be as transparent as possible. We discussed it last Thursday to put it on. Inadvertently, it was not put on. Dr. Merrick and I talked Sunday night, because I call every single board member, in case you don't know, I call every single board member Sunday nights. He said, I don't think it's on. I said, as soon as I get off the phone, and I'm gonna be totally transparent, I said, as soon as I get off the phone, I will call Dr. Barnes and discuss with him. I did not, because Ms. Justice called me back at that point, so I talked to her, and then I called Dr. Barnes, and it was...
Yeah, a couple things. First off, it's my fault I didn't get on there. I was meaning to put it on. We discussed it Thursday when we did our agenda review meeting. My other thing was that I was kind of going back through my email because I know that I've sent you guys emails about LifeWise to talk about it. I'm prepared to talk about it. You asked me for information, ready to go. We did talk about the fact that it's difficult when we're building an agenda as we're building an agenda. Normally, things that would be discussed at the board meeting are discussed today to put on the agenda. That was the purpose of the agenda review to start with. So when we did make this change to publish it early, I did ask you guys for a little bit of grace because we are doing a new process. So I certainly wasn't, I've been trying to keep you guys in emails about LifeWise all the way along. It's really no never mind, not to say no never mind to me. I'm prepared to talk about whenever, but I know that it didn't make it on there until Sunday night. You guys saw it for the first time probably Friday, but when it did get published for the public, it was on there, and the meeting is next week. We weren't even going to discuss it today anyway.
You have a motion in front of us, so let me just see if I can get a second on the motion, and then we can further discuss it.
Well, yes, I'll second that.
Okay, there we go. Go ahead. Now,
And I just have, if we would delay this until next, the July meeting, would that still be adequate time if they wanted to do that, if we decided to do this for the next school year?
I mean, you guys didn't ask me to build an MOU, you asked me to provide you with information. So an MOU I would then start the MOU process after that. So it would probably add another month or two onto the process.
All right, so, again, to make sure everybody's on the same page, what I'm hearing, and make sure I'm hearing it correctly, is that we do not, we're not even talking about an MOU at this point. We're talking about whether we want to pursue an MOU. We have a motion in front of us to delay the discussion of LifeWise and a possible MOU from next Tuesday, a week from today, until our July meeting.
Correct.
Okay, and Ms. Justice, you haven't spoken yet on this?
Okay, I'm trying to understand the rationale between next Tuesday, if it's the amount of people being aware, it wasn't going to happen today. And I think I tried to explain that to somebody, but that's okay. I knew we weren't going to be talking about it except in this manner today. So if the purpose is because there's a lot of people that want to give their input about it and they won't have enough opportunity between now and next Tuesday to make arrangements to show up, I would say that if you put it off a month, you're going to have a lot of people out of town. It's summertime, and if anything during the summertime, we have less people involved in everything. And I've done this for years, and I know that for a fact. So I'm not sure how by putting it off a month, this is just being practical here, how by putting it off a month is going to have any less people being able to be involved in the process of giving their input on the process. Okay, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay. Is that hand up or is that hand up? One last. Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Chair. It is true that this is not published for the public until this morning. However, we've had this conversation a bunch of times. If it is a work in progress, if it has been written down, it is public information. And so, the public does have a right to know. And I'll tell you, the public comes to me on a regular basis, says, okay, what was published? We need to know because we need to prepare ourselves so that we can come and be educated and have a good conversation with our school board. And so I have no problem, as long as there's nothing, of course, we never speak about anything that's personnel related, but if it's on the agenda and I see it, I let the public know about it because it's public information, darn it. And by state statute, it's public information. And so I do tell the public, and they do come to me for that reason, what's on the agenda? They have a right to know. And the fact that, you know, it showed up on Sunday night and here they are, it's like the public needs time to know about this. And the morning of just barely gives them enough information to know what we're talking about today. And they want to be able to have time, get off of school or to get out of their job or to talk to their lawyer or to talk to whatever it is. They need time to prepare. And, you know, maybe a week is not enough. Maybe it is.
And again, I just want to clarify, we said before, a week, you need an extra week to do it. We talked on Thursday, so the earliest it would be published is Friday, so we're talking about 2 days, but not a whole week. But anyway.
I told people that it's not on the agenda.
Right.
Because it
But
wasn't.
you wouldn't have known until Friday, because it wouldn't.
Right.
Friday.
But people contacted me Friday, said it's not on the agenda.
Gotcha. Mr. Perry?
And just, I want more of a point of clarification as far as the agenda item goes. If we keep it the way it is right now for next week, we're not obliged just to vote for LifeWise or not for LifeWise and MOU. Because personally, I believe if we're going to offer this kind of character training, that we need to open the door to any organization that wants to provide this kind of character building. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at a establishment clause, First Amendment lawsuit. And
Yes?
So a point of clarification, what's on the...
A few months ago, this entire board said we wanted more information. And that's what's coming. There's no attached document. There's no MOU settled. It's literally the multiple emails that Dr. Barnes has sent us. I have been to presentations that he's done with the community about what it is, heard feedback from people. This is not a new thing. All 7 of us said we would like more information. And now it showed up on the agenda. This is not a surprise. This is something that got introduced months ago that we all agreed saying, prior to us considering, we needed more information. Here we are.
Okay. Well,
That makes sense. I withdraw my thing. It's information. We're not voting on anything.
And very quickly, last comment being is that because it's on the agenda and it may only be information, it just takes one person to make a motion and then all of a sudden we could be voting on whether or not to create an MOU. That's how easily it could happen. So the public is very concerned. I'm very concerned too.
all right, any other comments? If not, so the motion in front of us is to delay a month, to delay the information or the release of this information from about LifeWise to, and again, there's no MOU at this point. There's no MOU. It's only whether we consider it. Did you second?
No, I didn't. I said, I didn't undeclare my second. All I meant was to say,
Okay.
you convinced me.
Okay, so this is to delay discussion of the LifeWise program for a month until July. That is correct. So I've restated it now. Would you please call the roll, Ms. Bowie?
Mr. Perry?
No.
Ms. Mason?
No.
Mr. Wildebohr?
No?
Ms. Barnhart?
No.
Ms. Justice?
No.
Ms. Bradford?
No.
And Dr. Merrick?
Yes.
Okay, so that motion is defeated 6 to 1, or 1 to 6. Precise. So,
I think
yes, sir, Mr. Perry?
since we're still on old business, you should have passed out a resolution that
Well, let's finish this part, and then we'll, if we want to add something.
I want to add something a little bit.
Right, let's just go ahead and figure out how much we need
Oh.
for LifeWise, and then we'll get to the next point. So we have, right now we have 20 minutes allotted for Surrey information, insurance renewal and LifeWise discussion. And I guess that, since it's all under old business, typically right now, possibly right now, we could, if we chose to move forward with LifeWise, we could ask the superintendent or instruct the superintendent, I think ask would be better, to go ahead and to pursue the MOU. So just to let you remember of that, Ms. Bradford, then Dr. Merrill.
The Surrey Insurance, old business A, we've talked about it. I'm comfortable. Can we move that up to the consent agenda now that since we've talked about it? Does anybody else still want to talk about it? next week,
We need further
the
discussion.
insurance quote. So we could move that up and save a couple minutes.
So,
So you comfortable with that?
so would you like to make a motion?
Yes, sir, I move that, 14A Surrey Insurance Renewal moves into the consent agenda
Is there a second?
under AH.
Okay, AH.
We're running out of
Further
letters.
discussion?
I-
Hearing none, all in favor of moving the Surrey insurance up to the consensus item, please signify, or consensus
minutes.
list, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? That passes 7-0. So we still have the LifeWise, and we may add something else to it, but yes, Dr. Merrick.
Since we're still on old business, based on what I said before, based on the public's concern, what I'm hearing from the board is what we're going to deal with LifeWise is simply to hear about the research that Dr. Barnes has brought. With that being the case, I move that we move LifeWise from old business to information,
Okay.
because that's all it is.
There is a motion to move LifeWise from old business to information. Is there a second? Second. Further discussion? Hearing none? Just because I know I'm going to need my pen out again, I'm going to go ahead and take
Actually,
it
I have
out.
a discussion.
Sorry? You have a question?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, if it's just information, which I get, I mean, then, again, we're still, if we were gonna, if the board decided to pursue an MOU or a series of MOUs with various organizations as a result of this, do we have, my question just comes down, are we gonna have enough time to do all that? I guess I'm asking for your reaction. If we delay, if we can't have a vote on it on next Tuesday.
Well, we're not Mr. Merrick, what are your thoughts if that's what we're
Well, I've been told that this is information only, and so that's the place that it belongs, and because we're looking at the amount of time, I'm going to suggest that if that motion is voted down, then I think we have to probably put 40 minutes on LifeWise, because it's going to be a very robust conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and vote. So we have a motion and second to move LifeWise to information. Ms. Bowie, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Mason?
No.
Mr. Wildebohr?
No.
Ms. Barnhart?
No.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Bradford?
I made the motion to have Dr. Barnes do this, and I distinctly remember directing him to create an MOU, so I'm having a problem voting right now. So
This is not appropriate. We're having a vote.
somebody needs to look that up.
Point of order.
Mr. Chairman of order?
We're having a vote. We're not having a conversation.
Okay. So we do need to vote. And I will, I'm in favor of yours.
No.
And Dr. Merrick?
Yes.
Yes, and that was no. 1, 2, 3, 4. So,
Point of inquiry.
well, let me finish my counting here. All right, that's defeated 4-3. Now, point of inquiry. Go ahead.
Can someone check the minutes and the audio from the meeting where I proposed, I made the motion for this, and I distinctly remember saying to direct Dr. Barnes to create an MOU for us to consider. That's my memory. Could be faulty, but I don't want to be splitting hairs here without knowing, because that's what my memory tells me.
I don't believe that we can do that at this moment.
So we don't have to do it right now, but I think
You can do it? Okay,
if-
she's going to look that up.
Crystal, if you'll give me the date, I'll go back and look at the audio.
If I remember correctly, I think what I remember saying was I don't want to put the sweat equity into creating an MOU if the board wasn't interested in having it at all. I thought that's what I remembered.
I do remember you saying that.
So I thought I was left with a request to get information.
I remember that too.
But I want to go verify because I do a
Yeah,
lot
I just
of
want to check, so we're
stuff
not
in a day.
technically
We're
out
checking
of
that.
order.
Ms. Barnhart?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I recall was an agenda review a few months ago. This got brought up and a consensus from this body that we would like more information prior to making a decision, prior to making a decision on an MOU, prior to saying yes or no to anything, we wanted more information to be able to have a conversation. Now, I know lots of conversations have happened in the community, but this body has never had a conversation openly because it was our job to get information prior to have an open discussion. So that is what this is. And we can have a heated discussion next week, 15 minutes, whatever, or 20 minutes, so that's my 2 cents.
Okay, Ms. Mason?
Just let you know, if we do 20 minutes, we are over the exceeded policy limit. 15 is going to be over.
I already sent you guys information about the teacher working condition survey. I'm more than happy to bump that for a month if that's in your guys's.
No, I think it's important to get that out there to the public.
Okay.
Well, then I would move that we would have to, just like we did a few months ago, choose to employ 2450 and ignore the policy of the 3.5-hour mandated stop, just because the public is very concerned, and for us to treat it like it's nothing is really inappropriate because of this arbitrary 3.5-hour limit.
Okay, Ms. Mason?
And I would be fine with that if this was not a consistent problem. We consistently have these kinds of issues popping up, which was why I voted against it way back. But will of the board is the will of the board. So if we're going to abide by policy, we should abide by policy. And not every single month come back and go, well, let's bypass this policy. I feel like we've got to figure out, do we want to reduce time on something else so that we can do that? I don't think that's unreasonable, so that we do have more time. But I cannot support continuing to go back to this exact point every single month.
And I'm going to get to you, but before Ms. Mason's, along with what she said, maybe what we need to look back at is going back. I'm just going to say, and I know the will of the board was not at one point 4 hours, but I mean, I go back to Ms. Justice and I looking at each other. We used to be here for 7.5 or 8 hours, which was crazy. We're here for, if we go back to 4 hours, I know that's not great and wonderful, but, I do agree with Ms. Mason. If every month we have to say, well, we're not going to make 3, that's a great, as I think Dr. Merrick said last time, that's a great goal. We can always say, well, let's shoot for 3.5, but let's put in policy 4, so that, then it's a lot more doable in my mind, but that's the will of the board. Ms. Justice had her hand up next, so I'm going to go to her.
You pretty much said what I'm going to say, except for this. I want to point out, what we do on this board is extremely important. It shouldn't have a time limit. I know that part of the discussion when we were talking about this is that other boards, they only meet 2 hours, or they only meet 1 hour. We're not other boards. We're much larger boards than most of those boards they were talking about. And we need to do it right. This isn't a time crunch. We shouldn't be so focused on minutes. I mean, I'd love to go home at 8 every time, but that's whatever I love has nothing to do with why I was elected and who we're representing. We're supposed to be doing this right, and the 4 hours sounds just more practical. And that was what Ms. Mason and I were actually talking about during that last conversation before we made the vote that put us in the situation we are now. But it's very important, the work of this board. We shouldn't be playing games with minutes. We should be doing our jobs.
And as was mentioned a minute ago, these are important topics. It's not like a, run-of-the-mill thing. So, Dr. Merrick, and Ms. Bradford, and Mr. Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yes, when this was voted on to reduce to 3.5 hours, one of the caveats had been, if we need more time, we will just choose to use more time, but at least we're aiming for less. And that's why we're having this conversation, because we are aiming to make it less, and I appreciate that. I think that this conversation with LifeWise is far more impactful for the community than the reasons that we extended the time limit 2 months ago. So, I don't think that to arbitrarily say, well, now we suddenly have to follow this rule, even when the rule was voted on with the idea of some flexibility, that's not appropriate.
Thank you. Ms. Bradford.
I'm a little confused at how we get, if I look at page 1, it's pink. That's our normal stuff. The first information item we have is the working survey. Then we have about 4,000 MOUs, but it's a consent agenda and we went through a lot of them today, so that should go quick. So then it comes to policy, and we've discussed policy. There might be one something pulled, but how do we get to 3.5 hours?
So I always make sure that I'm calculating that beginning time frame. I say it's about 15 minutes. That's what I do. And so I start with that as our base. I make sure that I have the 5 minutes in there. So I have the 15 minutes from A to F. Then I added the 5 minutes, so that gives us 25, plus the 15 for committee reports, which gives us, math person, 25 and 15 is 40, yes, 40. And then added 25 to that, so that's 65, plus 10, 75, plus 10, 85, plus 5, 90, plus 5, 95. So 95 at the bottom of that page.
So before we get off the first page, we're at 95 minutes.
Correct. Then the teacher working condition survey was 20, and the call to audience. So I added those. That got us to 175. The consensus items were 10, so that was 185. Getting us to policy was another 10, so 195, which is already 3 hours. 180, 3 hours, yes. So I'm checking with the math teacher over there. And then, so I added 5 minutes for the bathroom, and that put us at 200, because we always have to have at least one bathroom break. And so then with old business, we're going overtime at that point.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am?
might I ask, is it going to be 15 minutes for committee reports? I don't believe it is. I'm
No,
asking.
You said you have one, but I think
I have
anybody else
one.
have one?
So would it be
Say
more,
5.
like, reasonable to say 5 minutes versus 15?
So?
More accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Okay.
we're
And just
at
make those.
Justice?
95 minutes in the
Yes,
first
ma'am.
page.
Okay, I'll be honest with you right now. I'm feeling very concerned that we're nitpicking over minutes when we were elected to do a job. And instead of focusing on the job we're doing, we're fighting over minutes. I'm not sure why people want to go home so early. I love to go home at 7. But, you know, I'm here to work, and it doesn't bother me if it takes an extra half hour or hour to do it. And I'm just astonished that one of our main responsibilities is to do our job right, and we're here picking about minutes instead of about doing our job right. That's all right. I'm not saying anymore.
Okay, Ms. Mason, then Dr. Merritt.
If I might, I think the initial reason for reducing the time was because what was happening was there was a lot of, I'm trying to think of how to say this. There was a lot of lengthy monologues that were occurring, and I think that the purpose of reducing this time was to ensure that we were concise in our speech, that we were making sure that everybody had an opportunity to speak. That was my understanding of the initial push for shorter meetings. It wasn't to reduce, you know, what we were doing or what we were focusing on, because what we do is very important. And it impacts a lot of students and teachers and families. And so it absolutely does require some discussion. And I hate that right now that I'm being so nitpicky about this, but I'm trying to follow this policy.
You're doing a good job doing your job.
But I think that when we first started doing this, it was to ensure that, one, everybody had a voice, but it was also to ensure that our meetings were not chaotic and lengthy, and we weren't making decisions at 11 o'clock at night. Because I remember you guys sitting on this board for a long time, and by the time you got to like 10 o'clock, the conversations were not super coherent. And so I think that was kind of the purpose in doing that, making sure that we were alert and awake and making the best decisions possible. So I'm not against shortening a meeting time. I just feel like this is too much, but I think a different entity in and of itself. I think that's something that if we want to discuss, we can bring it to policy.
Now we go to Dr. Merritt.
I want to call out what I believe to be the elephant in the room. When I made a motion to move this discussion to information, y'all know what I meant by that. It means we're going to hear about it, but we're not going to vote on anything. And the fact that that was voted down as the way it was tells me that this board probably has an ulterior motive of what to do next week. It means that the public is coming here to find out that this board is going to try to slide, potentially slide something in. It is a potential.
That's an accusation, sir.
No, it's a potential, it is.
Yes, we have a point of order, let me rule on that, and I will rule that that is well taken. I think it is. I mean, obviously, anything that's under old business or new business can be voted on. That can be. But it doesn't mean it's going to be voted on one way or the other.
It does not mean that it will be, but the fact that it was voted against information only means this board wants the option to vote on it. That's clear. That's not making assumptions. This board wants the ability to vote on it.
Right, I've already ruled in that order. Anything under old business or new business can be voted on.
And that's all I'm saying. So what I'm saying is that this board wants to have the freedom to vote on this.
That's why it's under old business.
And that's what the public needs to understand, that if we're going to vote on it, we need to be able to talk about it. And we can't say that, oh, we got to shut conversation down at 15 minutes because we don't have time to talk about something the public so desperately wants to talk about.
Mr. Justice.
Wow. I don't like the word hypocrisy, but information is what Dr. Barnes was going to provide us with, and that's what we requested. And then to have this meeting now and then say, we're going to put it under old and new business when we had all expressed, everybody in here said they wanted information. So the logical thing would be to do it in its progression, get the information. If we say then write up an MOU, then bring it back and vote. Why we're jumping the gun obviously is not what we wanted. And so, yeah, it does lead people to think that, hey, what is a motivation here? You're trying to put in a position, excuse me.
Okay. Again, anything that's under old business or under new business, I'm going to say it one more last time, that they can be voted on.
Yeah.
That's since the beginning of Robert's rules. So we can discuss that anything under old business can be voted on. Yes, folks, it can be.
Right.
Okay, so we don't need to continue the conversation
Right.
about whether something under old business can be voted on. Yes, it can. What we instructed or asked the superintendent to do is to gather information so we can decide whether we want to have an MOU or not.
Correct.
That's what we said. So that's why it's under old business. Because if we choose to have an MOU, we can have an MOU. That's what the board is doing. So as far as trying to make it sound like we're doing something behind anybody's back, I'm sorry. I take that as disingenuous.
I'm not trying to put it that way. I'm trying to say if we're going to ask for information, even though it's a business, we should keep it under information. That is what my concern is.
Okay, well, we already voted on it.
I was voted. One very quick comment is I would like to ask our superintendent to bring to the board, along with this information next week, all the other requests that we have had for similar time out of our classroom periods for different organizations that want to do religious education. Will you please include that with your report?
You're out of order.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay. I think that's, if you don't mind, I think that's a great idea. I think that is part of the conversation. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I was raising my hand to talk about time, but if you're going to do that, all the release times that we have, because I know that, I believe that the Hill School is a release time, is it not? It's not religious education, but those kids are released out of the school, they go away from the school, they get their training from the Hill School, and they come back. So what other programs do we have where kids leave the school, go get training, and come back?
We can have that for next week.
That is true. That is true.
All right,
But
well,
I just,
we have sidebar conversations here.
but I would like to, I mean, if we're going to go that far, I would like to, I'd like to see the whole picture and not just part of a picture when I'm looking at a picture. And I'm concerned that we're not going to have enough information. To be honest, I would like to have a presentation from this group. It's had so much information and so much misinformation out there. I'd like to have them come and present to us, but I haven't, I haven't pushed that. But it's still in the back of my mind. But if we're going to bring whatever programs we have go out, or request for programs that go out, I'd like to know what others go out, because I'm not sure that I know. But on this time thing, if every single meeting, because I'm into organization, I'm into time, if every single meeting, we have 95 minutes, that's just page 1, that doesn't get us even to call to audience, and that adds a second hour, then I think my colleague directly across from me has a point. We did say when we went to 3.5 hours, if we needed to, we could bump the time up. So I would, in that case, next week, if we don't have enough time, as long as people aren't making, publicity statements, if they're actually debating an issue, then I would be more than happy to second and add time too. But, the whole idea of shrinking our meeting time, because we take way more time than anybody else anywhere to decide things, because we talk so much, that I don't want to go back to 4 hours. I don't want to go back to 6 hours. I don't want to sit here at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. We don't need to rehash all of that. We had board members that were falling asleep after 9 o'clock. We don't need to go there. But if that whole page is an hour and a half, then, because what about if this one time, if we take all of those MOUs, we've talked about them, if anybody doesn't think they need any more information, we don't need another week to get input from Sally Sue, can we vote on that today and get that off? That's what I'm into, shifting things off of this. But the only thing we have on this whole deal for business is LifeWise and the teachers' working conditions. Is there anything else on there that we're doing? Yeah, the policy, that's it. And we should be able to do those in 4 hours. Reasonably, we should be able to do that.
And I'm going to ask a question of the board, because obviously we're discussing it today where we're supposed to discuss it next week. And I'm going to throw out an idea, and if you hate it, you hate it, and if you love it, you love it. But we've had a discussion about maybe hearing from LifeWise, having them in front of us. Also, a lot of folks out here are concerned. Folks are concerned on both sides. We could try to squeeze this in for next week, or we could say, and I think Ms. Justice's point is very good too, because we could do it in the July meeting. That makes sense. But if we do it in the July meeting, there's a lot of people that are going to be out. I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, I wonder if maybe, I'm just throwing out an idea, and again, you guys can all hate it, but maybe doing all these things that we've talked about, and actually coming to a conclusion, everybody, yay, nay, or whatever else, in our August meeting. But I don't know that that's the worst.
You say bump it out to August.
Yeah, bump it out to August. I'm just throwing an idea out, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4 members that have said something that let's bring, why not hear from everybody we can hear from, including LifeWise, maybe folks from the other side saying, let's not. And this gives us plenty of time to make a rational and well-informed decision instead of running around and, not running around, nobody's running around, but making, but anyway, that's a thought.
I would second that. I would second that,
Well,
especially if we could hear from them.
I make a motion that we get the information and discuss the LifeWise in our August meeting. And I have a second.
Can you clarify, point of clarification?
Yes, sir.
Could you repeat the motion?
We postpone the discussion of LifeWise so that we can get more information from our June meeting to our August meeting.
I would, and you got a second?
And we have a second.
I would amend that motion to say that we hear Dr. Barnes' presentation and then have a more robust discussion in August.
So basically, what you're saying is we hear what he has to say next week, and then we pull the board, so we just listen. So we do actually make the information, we just hear the information, and then we have the summer to really get more information and everything.
Yes.
So that's the amendment?
That's the amendment.
Is there a
I'll second that amendment.
We have a second on the amendment, so we have discussion of the amendment. We really want to be here all day today.
Lisa Staley.
All right.
Discussion.
We have a hand here first, so I'm going to go to my hand to my right, then my hand to the left.
I guess my question is, if we're moving that over to information, that doesn't change the time frame that it's going to take up. It's still going to take about, what, 5-10 minutes at least? Which is just going to put us at max without closed session and without anything like that.
Well, first things first, I can restrict my superintendent comments to parents tag you're in. And get rid of that 5 minutes back. But I've already sent you, as a board, the information that you requested. I don't think it's going to take very long for me to explain it. Now, honestly, what I texted Crystal a little bit ago is as soon as this plane lands, to post that memo that I sent to the board to the public. So I can certainly talk about it in 5 minutes and hit the highlights. It's really not going to be me that makes this take a long time. So I can explain it in 5 minutes, especially because you're not asking me at this point for my recommendation. You asked me for information. Here's the information. I can do that in 5 minutes, if that helps.
Okay. I forget who's seeing these hands. I'm sorry. I was listening.
You're fine, I'm good.
Ms. Nate, did you speak?
I did.
Okay, we'll go to Ms. Bradford, then Mr. Perry.
We have a motion and an amendment. I'd like to amend the amendment to, can you amend it? I can, okay. You had mentioned it when you were talking, but I think we're at the point where I'd like to hear, not in call to audience, not in an email, not in a text, but I'd like to hear from this group that wants to bring this into our schools. I'd like to hear from them, for the whole public to hear. You know, they sent us a video on Memorial Day. I watched the video. It was the first intake I'd taken. Then I got the superintendent's email. And then I started to study it. I started to dig. I have some questions. I'm going to make some calls between now and next week. But if there's a representative from LifeWise here that's, you know, high up the food chain of whatever their organizational structure is, can answer questions, make us a presentation. It can be 10 minutes, but I would like to see that at this point. So we can either call it on or call it off and stop, you know, constantly talking about this.
So
No.
maybe for our, I would say maybe for our July meeting, that we allow them 10 minutes, I think 10 minutes, because that's usually a very meeting, because we don't have the children, a lot of the children at the front end. We have a lot more time for that, so that would be where I would say we could have it.
Oh, I see what you said.
Don't
Okay.
have, you know, like the.
We don't have as much page one.
Right, we don't have, exactly, so.
Okay.
You know, is it, so if that's your motion.
Just as long as we
put it
have
in
that
July.
information before we actually make up our minds.
Right. All right, I will.
So, yeah, I would be fine for that.
Okay, I will second that. So discussion of allowing
You
LifeWise
don't like
10
that?
minutes in July. Any discussion? Ms. Justice.
Well, obviously, if they're going to have 10 minutes, there should be a counter group to have 10 minutes. Or groups. That's the whole point, is that there's multiple groups that have character development programs that would love to come into the school. There's nobody on the board right now bringing them up and promoting them, but that could happen. So if you're going to have that one particular group, maybe we should set aside time for another group. Seriously, lots of groups out there that have character development.
Okay.
Lots of those.
Mr. Perry?
Town hall?
Ah,
Town hall.
Well, you know, I mean, I was thinking if you could do that, I mean, we haven't heard from any parents. We've heard from people from New York and Texas and California by email.
What?
Yeah.
oh my God.
If you read the address in some of those emails, they're not from the
Point of
same.
order, Mr. Chair, this
Yes.
is not accurate, and it's meant to abuse people, the idea that some people actually have a legitimate complaint
Sir,
about this.
point of order, that's an accusation.
There's a point of
As
order
is
already that
yours.
we're talking over here,
It's
so.
an accusation,
All
sir.
right, all right. We have point of order to begin with from Dr. Merrick, and I will rule that we need to keep our discussion confined to what we're talking about. So I will find favor of that. As far as an accusation, I think there was, so I'll point and I'll find in favor of that too. So let's go ahead and focus on the conversation, which is whether or not to hear from LifeWise in July. That's the conversation. There was a discussion, a very appropriate one, that maybe we should hear from other groups at that same time. I don't think that that's a bad idea, but let's talk to that, you know, that's where we are on our motions right now. We're at the end of our motions about LifeWise.
Are we at the end? Because I didn't think we could amend an amendment, but you've allowed that, so I'm going to amend, I want to rise to make an amendment to the amendment to the amendment. I didn't think we could do two.
No, she's right. Can, but if I might, what is recommended is that you vote on the initial amendment so that you don't have an amendment to the amendment, because it just makes it very confusing, because at this point, I've been paying attention and I'm still confused.
Yeah, could you get
Why don't we go ahead, at this point, we'll vote on the amendment to the amendment, which is to hear from LifeWise and maybe a second group.
That wasn't the amendment to hear from the second group.
Okay, so let's just vote on whether we want to hear from LifeWise in July. Ms. Bowie, would you please call the roll? This is just that amendment.
Mr. Perry?
No.
Ms. Mason? Mr. Wildebohr?
Yes?
Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Justice?
I
This
hope
is
I'm
to
voting
hear-
on the right thing.
This
No.
this is to hear from LifeWise only.
Okay, no,
July.
okay.
Okay.
Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
And Dr. Merrick?
No.
So that is defeated by 2 to 5. So then we go back to the prior amendment, which is to
Hear from the superintendent.
hear from the superintendent
5 minutes.
for 5 minutes. And then to put, well, yes, that's that amendment. So this is only to hear from the superintendent next week for a 5-minute discussion. Yes, ma'am.
What do we do with the August thing? Is that promoted on?
That's the original motion. So
All right, so
that's the next thing after this. We'll get to it later. Okay, please call the roll. This is to hear for next week to basically move, I will say, the discussion of LifeWise, the informational part of LifeWise to information and to hear from the.
This was earlier this meeting, we voted on moving to information and so we are now.
But
Point of order.
this was
Point of
brought up
order.
as an amendment to the discussion later. So,
We changed the date.
yes. Go ahead, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Ms. Mason?
No.
Mr. Wildebohr?
Yes?
Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Bradford? And Dr. Merrick?
Yes.
Okay, so we can do that, we'll hear that, and now we're back to the beginning of the tree, which is to, that did pass. That did pass. So now so Dr. Barnes will be sharing with us next week, under information, the LifeWise discussion, and then the original, which I brought back about a half hour ago, was about moving the LifeWise vote and discussion amongst the board members to August. Ms. Booth.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. Wildebohr?
Yes.
Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Bradford? And Dr. Merrick?
Yes.
That passes 6-1, so we will move the actual discussion, see you guys in August, but we'll move it to August, so our regular August meeting.
On this conversation, though, let's just get this thing completely situated. I'd like to make a motion that between next Tuesday and August, that we could have a town hall where we can hear from everybody.
Okay, there's a motion to have our town hall. Is there a second? Okay, so there's a discussion, so we can hear from everybody. I guess everybody would include, let me ask a point of inquiry, in your everybody, that would include representatives from LifeWise too?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yes, ma'am.
Town hall or public hearing? Describe what town hall means to you in that setting. If it's just the round tables in here and we take input from people, what kind of setting are you looking for? I would move to amend that to a public hearing, to where we hear from people.
Yeah, I don't like when we had the AI pilot program and people got up and asked questions and made a comment, I like that format better than going around the tables and stuff.
I would think so.
Yeah, I would.
So basically, we're not in this let me just ask if I can.
Yes.
Basically, basically, our town halls typically have been, we sit in a group, or we sit around the table, and maybe we have several questions, we move around. This would be the question, I guess, would be whether we want to go, with Likewise or another group, or would you rather have it more like the call to audience, where maybe we have a presentation and there's questions to that presentation?
Oh, public hearing.
Public hearing.
I don't care what you call it, yeah, something like that.
Okay, something like that. Okay, so.
So you would amend your motion, you would have made it to just be a public hearing? I would say.
Yeah, I mean, as he just described it.
Public hearing, okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, all right. All right, let's just take a shot in the dark. Go ahead.
I just would like to bring something to everybody's attention, that based on the Supreme Court and state statute, any group can have religious education programs. We don't have the right as a school board to say they can't do it. What we can do is say, yes, parents can come and they can check their children out of school and they can be responsible for transportation and bring them back as long as it's for public education, as long as it's for religious education. That's what the law allows. So to say that, we're only going to allow one group or no groups or whatever, we can't actually do that. Any group can have a program on religious education. What we don't need to do is have our staff be burdened with transportation, with scheduling.
Point of order, this is not germane to the motion.
This is exactly what we're doing.
I know, but what I'm saying, I just wanted to bring it to your all attention that we're not actually talking about whether or not we can have a program. Any program can exist.
Point of order, I'm going to have to take it well received. So at this point, we have a motion and a second to have a public hearing on this.
Or whatever we call it.
Public hearing. All in favor of hosting a public hearing, I guess, in the month of August?
Point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
July, presumably.
Between now and August, is what you said.
Yeah.
Point
Yes,
of
sir.
clarification.
Yes, sir.
A public hearing does not include any kinds of decision-making.
Right, you're correct. Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's
info gathering.
Public hearing is to hear from the public. Okay, yes?
Oh, no, I was good.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, it's been a
Sit
day.
still a long time.
All right, all in favor of having a public hearing on the topic of, tell me what you want, Likewise, or do we want to say?
Or character,
Offside.
character.
During the school
No, it has to
day.
be religious. It has to be religious. We don't have the right to send it out for character development.
Yeah.
We're talking about Likewise, people. Let's don't make it any more complicated. One thing at a time.
Okay, so,
Likewise,
okay.
at
Public
all.
hearing on Likewise.
And
Now, and, the August meeting. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes 7-0. My goodness, we are done. Thank goodness. All right.
And just so you know, if there is no closed session, we are at 195 minutes after recalculating.
talking about
It's like rerouting. I'm at 195 on my calculations, so we are under.
All right, so then we have no new business. We have a lot of, sir?
Whether this is where I wanted to make the motion as far as adding an item to the
yes, sir.
agenda. So,
Go ahead.
I'll leave it to you to determine whether this should be an old business or a new business. It's a topic we've talked about before, but this resolution that you got a copy of is something I wrote up this morning only, and I'm sorry for its late arrival, but it wasn't until I got through some of the line items on the consensus items that I realized that there might be some more of us renewing these cloud-based applications where our data could possibly be commingled with others and be a threat to the data security and confidentiality of our student employee data. So, and I know that, we've had now 2 data breaches in the last 18 months, and it's probably not going to get any better. And we need to take steps, and I know it's inconvenient, but we need to make steps that so we can rectify this. This resolution, I'd like to be able to, you could, it basically says if we're required to use that application by the state, then we'll use it, but everything else we're gonna phase out. We're gonna either put it onto our own managed cloud server or our own managed LAN server and replace it with an application so that data is not commingled with everybody else's, because that creates us a big target. So I'm asking to put this on the agenda. It's a one-pager. You should have plenty of time to read it between now and next Tuesday.
Okay, is there a second to add the New Hanover County case?
5 minutes.
Sorry, New Hanover County Board of Education Resolution 2026, 0602, resolution to protect student and employee data. Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion's sake and for us to examine what we can do to keep our student data safe.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend this go on the July meeting. I'm extremely frustrated. This is not the first time this board member has laid something in front of my face a moment before a meeting has started. We have a process that we have an open line of communication to you, and all of us have access to everything that gets submitted for agenda. So this is not an emergency situation. I'm very passionate, like my colleague is, about keeping our information safe. We have had presentations of steps that we have taken and what we are doing to continue to do that. So I have no problem entertaining this for the July meeting, but I'm extremely frustrated with the continuous lack of professionalism from my colleague to continue to do this.
That's an accusation.
It's lack of professionalism. I believe that this should be on the July agenda.
I received this at 1:57, no text, no email. I can't read this for the same reasons one board member said we couldn't hear something a few minutes ago because we didn't find out about it until Sunday night, and this is Tuesday. I can't in good conscience add this to the agenda. It's already packed. When I got it, I wrote down the time it was handed to me, 1:57. The meeting starts at 2 o'clock. And so I hear the frustration of my own voice. We have a process. We all know what it is. You fill that out, you get a second, goes to Dawn puts it up, and we all know what it is, and we have time to work on it. So why can't we follow our process? So I will vote no to add this to the agenda, period. Go back through the process. Follow the processes.
Mr. Perry.
And that would be fine and normal, but the fact is that we have software contracts that we need to be voting on to whether we renew or not that could involve could involve us compromising our student and employee data in ways that we don't need to be compromising them. So that's why it is urgent for us to act upon it before we vote to renew these contracts. And they're going to be coming up soon. We don't have time to sit on this. And I'm sorry that it came last second, but the fact is, I just, I went through the review. I saw what these agenda items were probably, this morning or yesterday or whatever. It was late in arriving. So I didn't know, and I see these different items for like the land, school, and it caused a concern. I mean, I don't want us to be contracted in with another, cloud application that's going to risk student data. And so before we vote to renew, I want to be able to approach that.
Okay.
Yes, I would move to amend it to have a report from our data folks, from Ms. Right, and hear from Ms. Gelly, right, about this.
This is the end of the school year. I'm really not prepared to burden the senior staff with other stuff in the last 2 weeks of school. I think, Dawn, you've already provided how much it would cost if we moved away from all cloud-based software, correct?
Months ago. Yeah, we did provide a lot of information towards that.
All right, would you mind resending it to the top of their inbox?
I will gladly do that.
Okay.
So we have a motion to add this discussion to next week's agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, please signify by saying no.
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 They don't care.
Let's go ahead.
They don't care about your privacy, people.
Sir.
Okay. All right. We will continue. We have no new business. We have, yes, ma'am.
Everything going on. I'm not not quite sure why my new business did not appear on the agenda that I sent out last week. It has to do, did anybody see it? I know that I went, yeah. Yeah, it has to do with next year's, during athletic events. Yeah. Having people actually have the opportunity to pay cash as opposed to just going through plastic, some form of credit cards or debit cards. And it's not on here. And so a little mystified like David. I did not see it on here when I looked on it.
But did you ask for it for this meeting?
Yeah.
Policy says.
Mr. Whitaker, I think that you and I said that we're going to bring it up in July because we're bringing it back to it.
Oh, so what you're saying is they could have brought it this week, but it couldn't.
Wait a minute. We actually discussed it last week, and Dr. Barnes is refreshing my memory for that.
Okay.
Go ahead, would you share?
We have to bring back to you guys the cost of all the student fees in July anyway for the approval for the next year.
Okay.
I think we said we're going to put it in that agenda because we may have to increase the cost of tickets if we want to shift to that. So I said, why don't we do it all together?
And I appreciate that. See, I
So
thank
it
you.
was, and I apologize, I should have shared that with you.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Okay.
Usually when something goes wrong.
No, you're very good at what you do. Yeah, okay,
so-
thank you. So it'll
Thank
be
you.
in July.
It will be in July, for sure. It'll definitely be in July. Okay, so that ends, we have correspondence, announcements, and adjournment. So total, ma'am?
With correspondence and announcements, we're at 2:05, which is under.
Which is under.
2:10 is max. But we're skip our time.
All right, we are under, very good. We will carry on. For today's agenda, next we have comprehensive and
I'd like
targeted.
to make a motion that we take a 5-minute break.
Okay? I think we can take a 5-minute break. Let's take a 5-minute break. Please be back here at 5:00. Into it, please. Thank you very much. Our next bit of information is the comprehensive targeted support and improvement of land. Ms. Sutton.
Thank you. So there are, I believe, 30 slides, so we're probably not going to go through all those. We've got about 15 minutes, but I'll be glad to elaborate. You just slow me down if I'm going too fast. So I wanted to start with just a little overview. So comprehensive targeted support and improvement. This presentation is going to provide the overview for the federal requirements related to this funding. And we'll also talk about the schools that have these designations as we're going through. Schools are designated based on overall performance and subgroup achievement gaps. So when we think about this federal funding, so this is a grant that we receive based on the number of schools that are identified here. So the purpose of this federal funding to schools with these designations is to accelerate improvement rather than serve as a long-term funding source, with an emphasis on ensuring sustainability practices remain after the grant period ends. So that's a big focus for this grant as this was awarded this year. So some of the federal requirements, we've received this funding in the past for schools with these designations, but the requirements have changed a little bit with the award that we received this year. So these designations require the district to develop an evidence-based improvement plan to address performance disparities among student subgroups, engage families and stakeholders, and also have continuous monitoring and report processes. So they're constantly looking at data, determining if things are working or not, and adjusting for those things. So if you can see the bullets there, these 4 bullets really drive everything related to these federal grants. So you develop the evidence-based improvement plans, addressing the subgroup performance gaps, and engaging family stakeholders, and that monitor report progress that we talked about earlier. Our district currently has several schools that are designated as either CSI, Comprehensive School Improvement, or Targeted School Improvement, TSI. And you'll hear those interchangeably through the presentation, and so I've got some notes as we go further in. So let's start with Comprehensive Support and Improvement. You'll hear people refer to this as CSI. We currently have 3 schools with that designation. Williston is newly designated this year. They were identified because they're in the bottom 5% for school performance compared to other Title I schools. Freeman had this designation previously. They remain with this designation because they're still in that bottom 5% for school performance. Forest Hills is the last school with this designation, and they had this designation previously as well. They did come out of the bottom 5%, so they're not in this category or don't have this designation for that reason any longer. But they have a subgroup that they didn't have enough kids in that subgroup for them to be able to come out of the designation. We actually contacted the state to see if we could get a waiver for them, and that was denied. So that's why you're seeing Forest Hills there. You actually are going to see 2 different TSI categories. Yes.
Before we continue, just can you define subgroup?
Yep, so that could be EC children, multilanguage children, Black children, so they're all different subgroups, and if anyone in curriculum wants to help me out if I make a mistake, please feel free to jump in.
Subgroups that the state looks at, and most of them are ethnicity. There's also economic disadvantage, special education as well.
And is
Yes.
it still 30 to make a subgroup?
I think that's true.
I remember. per test, right, so. So you need, say, 30 students from, like, in the elementary school from 3rd to 5th grade. Even if you had 30 students total, it didn't matter as long as it's, 30 in that group. Okay. Ms. Justice?
30 or 30%? What's?
30 students. 30 students. Dr. Merrick?
Sorry, thank you for all of this. I'm trying to understand so that, we get comprehensive support for certain schools that are meeting those metrics. And I heard you say that you applied to get that removed. How does the district gain by getting it removed? And what happens to the support for those kids?
So Forest Hills, looking at their data, they no longer appeared to us to have this designation. And so that was the reason, we said to us, it doesn't appear they should have the designation based on their performance. However, because they didn't have enough kids in that subgroup, the state disagreed with that and would not waive it. Now, the benefit would be they don't have that designation, but the downside would be is they would lose the funding.
Exactly.
That's right.
So I'm curious as why we would want to cut the funding.
We don't want to cut the funding.
Oh.
However, we need to make sure that this is not a designation that we want for our schools.
Yeah, that's not.
Boy, that's a win and loss on both sides, It really is.
I do not remember. I'm sorry, I should know that, but I do not remember.
And you were saying that there weren't
I want to say it's ML, but I will double check that.
But there weren't enough students in that, so basically that they previously had not been under, and now because we didn't have enough students, we couldn't, even if they
To
all
make that
did
subgroup.
great, we couldn't pull them out because the numbers are good.
Yep, that's correct.
Maybe this is nitpicking. I'm sorry, you're pointing at it.
I did.
So say you have a larger school like Williston, did you say was involved? And then a smaller school like, you said Forest Hills is still involved?
Yep, so Forest Hills still does have the designation.
Okay, so you have say twice as many kids go to Williston. So you're going to have a lot more kids that hit that 30 number, the number 30.
Right.
That's why I thought it might be percent, but you said it's actually 30 kids.
It's actually 30 students. When I was a principal, there were 3 pre-K-8 schools in my county, and the other ones had 2 subgroups, and I had 8. Simply because of the size of the building. It is what it is, yeah.
It is what it is.
It's
Yeah.
arbitrary.
If you're thinking it doesn't make a lot of sense, you're right in the zone. Yeah.
Good. We're confused for the right reasons.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so TSI schools, we actually have 2 different designations there, so I've got 2 different slides. So we'll talk first about targeted support and improvement. So you may hear this referred to as TSI-AT, or you may hear it referred to as ATSI. So I just want to give you all those acronyms. They all mean the same thing, just in case you hear it, you have this to refer back to. And so we actually have 12 schools that have this designation. There's 6 elementary schools, and I have a different slide a little bit further along that lists those schools, and 6 middle schools. And so this, the CSI schools, so this slide, these 3 schools that were identified, the funding they receive is for the entire school. So that grant is school-wide. I'm sorry, I'm flipping back and forth. But this TSI, this is where these schools have been identified based on the performance of particular subgroups within those schools. And so the grant funding they receive, those funds must be spent to help improve in those particular subgroups that have been identified for that school. So they can't spend the money for the entire school, only for those subgroups. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. And then you also have a targeted support and improvement group. So this is a 3rd designation, TSI-CU. So these schools are on the watch list. So they haven't necessarily been designated where they're requiring to receive federal funding, but they're on DPI's watch list because let me see, I've got a note for that. These schools would have subgroups earning a letter grade of F for the most recent year and the 2 previous years. And so that's how you kind of get on this watch list. So how it works is you're on the watch list, and if you don't improve, you go to this. So this TSI-CU is watch list. If you don't improve, then you move to the ATSI designation. And then if you don't improve, then you move to CSI. So that's kind of how you move along in that process.
Actually, when you said you're on the watch list, is it the federal watch list or the state watch list? State.
It's the state watch list. The funding we received is federal, but this is a state list. And so I call this the watch list for TSI. We actually have 11 schools, 6 elementary, 1 middle, and 4 high. And like I said, a little bit later on, we'll go through those schools, so you'll have the list. So how this works is we receive from the state that we have schools that meet these designations, and the state provides an allotment to us. And in the first year, we're responsible for reviewing data, reviewing needs assessments at the school level, engaging stakeholders to determine what we can do to move these kids forward, and develop a plan and the goal of building capacity within those buildings. And so this year has been our year 1. So that's what we've been working on. We, as soon as we were provided the grant information and the designations, we held a meeting with all those principals, and we said, hey, let's go ahead and get your assessments done, review your data, and go ahead and start building your plan. And if you can get your plan done in time, we can go ahead and get approval from the state to release your money for your school so you can go ahead this year and start implementing some of these strategies that you come up with. And so we did have some schools that were able to get their information in and get that approved by the state before now, so they've already had access to some of their money. Not all the schools were able to do that, but I do have a plan currently for all of our schools. So starting July 1, that funding will be available to them.
How much funding overall are we talking?
And so if you'll give me just one more slide, and we'll talk through the funding.
I apologize.
No, you're good. So that's what we've been working on this year. Next year, we're going to launch those initiatives that were included in the school's plans. And then we will assess and adjust as needed, and that's what we'll be doing in year 2 and year 3. And then in year 3, that's the time for us to refine and figure out how we're going to sustain this. Now, the schools were required in their plan to come up with long-term plan for sustainability, and so we want to make sure by year 3 that the schools have started doing that and are on their way, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So the funding breakdown. So for this year, the allotment for our designated schools is the $570,000 you see here. I did want to point out a couple of things for you. So we are allowed within this grant to charge administration fees up to 20%. We chose not to do that so we could give more money to our CSI and our TSI-CU, or our watch list schools. And so we are charging 8% instead of 20%, so we could move as much of that funding to the schools as possible. And then for our CSI schools, you see those 3 listed there, the allotment is $190.52 per student. And so, of course, depending on how many students in your school, your allotment's going to be higher. So that's why you see Williston with a higher allotment there. And then for our ATSI schools, we allotted $14,253.62 to each of those schools. So each school got that dollar amount. And then for our TSI CU schools, that's our watch list schools. We're not actually required to provide any funding for those schools, but we decided as a district we wanted to provide funding to them, so we provided them with 10% of the allotment, which amounted to $5,183.13 per school. So I jumped around a little bit, so I'm going to go back for just a second. So the admin fees, and I haven't added these up, should be right though. Admin fee 8%, CSI, we're required to give them 40%, and we gave them some of those admin fees, so I think that equaled 52% of the funding is what the CSI schools received. The ATSI schools received 30% of the funding, and like I said, the TSI, CU, the watch schools, they received the 10%. Okay. And so here you can see those designations. So we've talked about these three schools. So I'm kind of going to flip kind of fast because you're going to see there's some repetitive things. The schools are all doing similar things with this money, but we can certainly spend a little bit more time on each school if you'd like to. So I started with Williston. They are doing additional CHAMPS training. So we are doing, of course, district-wide CHAMPS training. That was included in this year's budget. Remember, that was an initiative for us. So Williston's getting that professional development, but they are also using this money to get some additional CHAMPS training. They are also using some of their funds for targeted tutoring. And also to pay for some subs. So they want to bring in subs to help with their teachers being more collaborative. So subs would come in so that tutors or EC teachers could get pulled out of those classrooms and do some planning with the general ed teachers so that we can make sure that they're all hearing the same thing and on the same page. And so a lot of the schools are using that strategy, and we hope to see some success with that. Here is for Williston, the things that they're using. They were required, and all the schools were required to do this, identify their data-driven monitoring, so what they're going to be using and where their goals. When they get to the third year of the grant, what changes they expect to see. So you can see those listed there. They're targeting the 5% increase in reading and math, 5% increase, and these are annual increases in student attendance, a decrease in behavior referrals, and then also trying to build capacity within the building. And then, once again, we talked about this before, this is what they've determined are their sustainability, the long-term impact. So when this grant ends, how are they going to keep this going? And so they've got some things listed there. You'll see a lot of this is, once the grant ends, moving to a train-the-trainer type model, so that when you have new folks coming in, they're able to provide that professional development to the new ones. For the individuals who have been there this whole time can continue to provide that support to new employees. And so for Williston, this is the breakdown. As you can see, it is kind of spread. So the salaries you see there are for tutors, supplies and materials. The professional development is the CHAMPS training that we talked about. They're going to do some training over the summer. So also stipends are included in the salary number there for the teachers to be able to come back during the summer for professional development. So you can see their budget there. I do not have that. It'll be based on their regular teacher pay, so it'll be different for everyone. Forest Hills, so what we've done is just taken these plans, the CSI schools, I've broken it out a little bit more. The TSI schools, I've kind of summarized in total for those. But you can see it's very similar, using tutors, to help provide additional support for the kids, instructional coaching for staff, and also some additional CHAMPS training. And then there you can see the SMART goals and how they're going to monitor and what they want their progress to be. And then the long-term sustainability. Now, I will say that Freeman and Forest Hills, if I remember correctly, are looking to use some of their Title I money in the future to continue tutoring. Williston didn't have that in their long-term plan, so that is a difference, but the other items are very similar to what we have in Williston. And here you can see the budget. So professional development, but a large part for Forest Hills, putting a lot of money towards tutoring. I think that's 91%. And so, yeah, so that's how they're targeting improvement for those students. And Freeman, you see a pattern here. They are using tutoring during their intervention blocks, targeted tutoring. And then they're also, I don't think the other schools were purchasing a software. Freeman's going to purchase iReady Diagnostics to help them with that, targeting the kids who need some additional support. And then they're also going to do some job embedded PD along with their CHAMPS, additional CHAMPS training. And here you can see for Freeman what their targets are and how they're going to monitor. And their sustainability plan after the grant ends. And so for Freeman, you can see they're putting more into professional development compared to Freeman, compared to Forest Hills. But they also still doing tutoring there, and then you can see the software purchase as well. Now for our TSI schools, designations, this is the list of those schools that have this designation. And so these are the schools who are required to receive 30%, at least 30% of the allotment to support their subgroups. And so we've taken the plan for all 12 of those schools and just summarized those to give you an idea of what the schools are spending those funds on. And so once again, we see some tutoring, identifying those subgroups, some professional development, and then also some co-planning, using subs to do that co-planning, and to make sure that they're able to include some teachers maybe that haven't been included previously in their PLCs. And here you see some SMART goals and monitoring that seem to be consistent with those schools, how they plan to monitor and adjust as needed during the year. And then here you see their sustainability plan. They want to transition to teacher-led interventions. And then, of course, they're going to keep their intervention blocks. So if they need to do some re-instruction, I guess, if they're seeing that they need additional work in an area, they can pull those kids out and provide that additional support. And that this is the group that is wanting to move, once the funding ends, move to a train-the-trainer model to be able to make sure they keep the staff capacity that they're going to be able to build over the next 3 years. And so for all of the schools combined, you can see the overview here of the allotments and where PD, there were some schools buying some software to help with that targeted instruction, and then tutors as well, as you can see. Now, this third group is our targeted support and improvement consistently underperforming. Now, remember, this is our watch list. And so these schools have this designation, but they're not required to receive any funding to help with that. We felt like these schools needed some additional funding to be able to help so that they wouldn't move to the next TSI category. And so you've got that list there. Yes.
I'm looking at the list of schools. I do see a couple that are on both the ATSI and the
Yep.
TSI.
And that is possible because of the subgroup. So remember that, so they might be on one list for one subgroup and a different list for another subgroup.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yep, good question, though.
That was the same thing.
That was a good question. And so here you can see for these schools with these particular subgroups that have been identified for them, they're using professional development to help build capacity within the buildings, looking at co-teaching, how to differentiate between the different levels of kids in the classroom, and then they're going to use state testing benchmark data to monitor the progress as they're going through the year. And then, once again, the collaboration piece to make sure that there's alignment between the different teachers based on what they're teaching. Everyone's hearing the same thing. Even pulling in this group, I can't remember if the other TSI group had this in their plans or not, but this group specifically called out tutors to make sure tutors are also involved in that planning. So when they're providing support, they know what the other teachers are doing as well. And here's the different ways that these schools have identified for identifying SMART goals and how they're going to monitor their progress. So I have that there. And then also sustainability plan that had to be submitted as part of this grant application or this grant document before the funding could be released. And so, once again, they're looking at transitioning to a teacher-led interventions instead of using tutors once that funding is gone, doing that within their intervention blocks. And then, of course, continuing to analyze data to identify student needs and to provide that additional support as needed. Professional learning, once the funding runs out, again, going to train the trainer model so that they can continue making sure that as they have turnover, they're providing the support for the new staff. And so here you can see the budget for those identified schools. Professional development is a big piece of that, but also tutors and subs you also see in this grant. So there is definitely a theme to this grant, but that is our current plan on how we're going to use this funding, and this is what we will submit to DPI.
And also that those schools that are on the watch list, they obviously get a very small amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, when we built the budget, we were able to minimize the penalties for Title I, so that schools are able to use some of that money to marry to this money and really stretch it a little further.
Mr. Perry? I know we took a less of an administrative fee because we wanted to see the money go to the schools, but would it be correct in saying that there are at-risk kids at other schools that are not, that aren't getting quite the same benefits as kids, at-risk kids that are going to these schools? Could we have, if we charged a bigger administrative fee, could we sort of have the money follow the at-risk children?
So this is a federal grant, and so the feds just determine which schools receive the money. And so if they're not within that school, within the sub-grant, the sub
But we could
group.
charge a higher fee, so then we could do what we want with it, right?
No. You have to
No, it
spend
still has to be spent based on the requirements in the grant. So the grant tells us how we can spend those administrative fees.
Never mind. I think everybody was answered.
Just for the public, this 570 million is not, sorry.
Again.
The million.
Wishful thinking. But just for the public to know that this was not part of our original budget discussions. This is not built into the budget. This is something extra that's going specifically to these schools for these purposes.
You can't budget a grant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the information I asked for this agenda item on because I like to see the interventions. Again, a shout out to Forest Hills. I know we said it before, but they had tremendous growth, almost a C school from an F school. So what they are doing has been working for their population. You constantly said common planning timing with tutoring and stuff in the train a teacher, or, train and then retrain. Are we using the planning time to create interventions so that they can be resources in additional years so that we don't have to redo that? Or how is that going? Because these funds are not consistently replicated. So is that the goal of the planning time, to create kind of like a database of supports in addition just to allowing collaboration?
So I don't know if you want to answer that, or you want me to give it a try. I'll be glad to give it a try. Sure, yeah.
Tag team.
The primary focus of that plan kind of look at the individual data of the children
Okay.
that are in
Just to see
the
progress where we're at.
subgroups that have identified them.
Okay.
And then designing exactly specifically what those children based on those standards and the data based on those standards.
So not
if
necessarily a resource
not
database for later.
necessarily,
It might be.
Making resources,
Gotcha.
but let's just say it did, and it's something we can use that way.
Right, I think that's a really good point, is that they'll create some of these artifacts
Yeah.
that then will be used
That
as
can be
kids
used
come in later on.
Yeah, that are struggling with that same, obviously.
With the same
Right.
thing, yeah.
Right, okay, thanks.
And I think the benefit too is the other people who may not always be in the room for those conversations,
Yeah,
because
to
the
bring
subs
them.
are able to hear all the conversation.
Yeah, to bring the tutors.
Any other questions from the staff? We thank, Ms. Justice.
I would like to make a great observation. You do a great job. You're a finance person. Listen to how well she's doing educationally wise. I mean, I know the two of you.
I'm trained well.
This is really impressive.
Together.
I know.
We're going to let go of all the staff, and it's just going to be you now. From my vote from now on.
All right, see you guys later.
Teamwork makes the dream work, so. Thank you very much, Ms. Sutton. Appreciate you. Next. Yeah.
He used the word, I don't like it very, very often, and it reminded me,
Oh,
Oh, we'll talk
He
about
said the
that.
artifact word, and I was like, oh my gosh, when do we have to have that ready by?
We'll talk about that.
Yay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But now we're going to talk about technology assessment.
that's me.
Oh, that's you.
So I was talking with a couple of board members, and I think the question has started to come up a little bit about how much screen time are students actually involved in versus hands-on learning versus discussion, Socratic method, blah, blah, blah. So what I thought would be an interesting artifact, an interesting item would be to talk, I talked with Dawn a couple weeks ago, to do a study in the fall of this upcoming school year to sort of get a sense of 6-12, how much our students are actually engaged in technology versus hands-on instruction. And I think that might help us as we go forward into the next year's budget session to kind of get a sense of what we're looking at. So I know that a couple of you have brought up concerns about technology usage, and I think that we would need information before we could make any decisions, and I think this would be a good way to sort of extrapolate how much is actually being spent. Is it 30%? Is it 70%? Is it 30% at this school and 50% at this school? I think having data like that would be valuable for us moving forward. So I was going to bring that to you guys to let you know that that's something we plan on doing in the fall.
Questions?
Thank you for just proactively looking at this and trying to figure out what we need. I also think by next fall, we're going to see a dozen more studies that are being released, because I know that a lot of people are looking at this right now. This is not a New Hanover County thing. This is all across the country.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see a lot more, we'll be exposed to a lot more information by then as well.
Well, I think it's going to be good for us to actually talk with intention about what we're actually using here. Because I do think that it's going to be, because I think the perception may be that we're on technology all the time.
Yeah.
Are we? I think that, I don't see it as much when I walk into classrooms, but I don't have that. I have anecdotal data, I have qualitative data, not quantitative. So I think that balancing that would be a good idea.
Mr. Perry?
Yeah. Thanks for doing that. I do think it's a good step. I did send you, had you passed out a copy of what Burke County Board of Education did last June. Passed a resolution, and this has been, they're the only county school district in North Carolina, as far as I know, that made a resolution to this effect to get more back to pen and paper and to reading books, and only use technology in a limited way that's proven to, be demonstrably better. And there's a lot of concern. I mean, New York Times, it's not just conservative outlets reporting this stuff that, kids just aren't learning as well. I think that, I just want somebody to look at this. I think that, I'm not asking that we vote on it today, just the Burke County one, but maybe sometime between now and, I think that this would, if we pass this, maybe practically word for word, inserting Hanover County instead of Burke County.
Right.
It might be a good resolution, just so we can point them in the right direction, not to try to, micromanage the school administration and how they're going to do this, but just to say, okay, this is what we're for, and we want you to see where you can do, where we can make better decisions in regards to technology, because it's not just the percentage of screen time, is what is that, what are they using it for? If they're using, even if they're only using 20% in technology, well, they could be using regular traditional methods and be doing better at it, but it's inconvenient. Maybe we should be going that way, but I think I'd like everybody to maybe look at the resolution from Burke, and maybe somebody can bring forth a revised version that would complement what you're attempting to do come fall.
Mr. Justice, do you have anything else?
I was going to ask a question, Dr. Barnes actually answered it, but my colleague on the left here just made me, I want to make, this is a statement. I actually have a child at home. I question him and his friends almost too much. They get annoyed with me about what goes on in class. Parents all know how this works. And I really assure you, in my opinion, from what I'm hearing, and talking to my friends that are teachers, technology is not overwhelmingly what they focus on in the classroom. It doesn't work that well. Teachers know this. And I would really like to make this statement. We need to trust our professionals. I don't think they're overusing technology in the classroom unless it's coming from some kind of outside source, maybe possibly requiring it for courses, because what I hear and what I see when I talk is the teachers are still doing their job hands-on, kids hands-on, more so than on screens. The screens are like textbooks. That's pretty much what they use them for, more than they do for actual work product in class. So I would just like to say I trust our teachers, and I don't want to be having statements like Burke County, no offense, Burke County. Our whole society right now is revisiting the use of technology in classroom for very good reasons. It's obviously really hindered a lot of our learning, and I think a lot of that came out of COVID when we were so forced out, into that position, and we're still trying to get ourselves acclimated to what really works best now that we've cracked that genie open. And I'm going to trust our staff and our teachers. This is my opinion as a school board. I don't think we should be making statements like this. We should leave it to the professionals. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Mr. Bradford?
I just tried to write down what Dr. Barnes said, so I just want some clarity. We're going to do a study in the fall, up in the coming school year. Did you say grades 6 through 12?
I said 6-12, but I think I may have said K-8. I meant 6-12.
You said 6-12.
Oh, good.
But
No, 6-12, because that's where the predominance of our...
That's every school 6-12.
Let me design it first.
Okay.
I haven't designed it yet.
How
but I
much
think
technology used? Okay.
Yeah, I think it needs to be spread across all of our different schools. I don't really think I could handle the data if every single teacher had to do it. So I think that I'll design something for you guys to see.
Because it seems like to me, I would agree with my colleague on the far whatever, right? That a resolution would wait until after we heard your results.
Exactly. And last but not least,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At first glance, again, this was dropped in front of me before this meeting started. I don't disagree with these statements, and I also think that many of our staff are doing this. I do think the younger age is more of a concern if we're seeing larger use of technology than older. But I echo the sentiments of my colleague. Speaking with some students, I said, just out of curiosity, we've had people say we don't read books anymore. just curious, do you guys read books in the class? They're like, oh yeah, all the time. Like our teacher gives us a novel to read, just, it's common
Novel
sense
sets,
stuff.
yeah, are still
Right,
available, yeah.
to do those sorts of things. And so to find that balance, and I've said it before, to say a tiered structure of technology use, of just saying this is what the expectation is in the district for our small kids. We're not going to have them on technology more than X amount a day, or if it's a week. I don't care what that feedback is, and we can talk to our staff as we come up with that, but it should be, because there has been parents say, well, are they just on technology all day? They're not on technology all day, but if you go to another school, there might be a heavy session of it. And so to get that feedback and just expectation of, no, when you're in kindergarten, you're not going to see it. You might not see it at all for an entire week, but you might have a brain break with it. And so I think that there is a concern, rightfully so, when we say we're one-to-one devices, like to say, is my kid just on the computer all day? There's a reason why not everybody is enrolling in the virtual school program. It's not something that works for every kid, and I can respect that. So I appreciate the thought of 612, but for me personally, I'm thinking our younger kids too. If we're seeing our young kids on the computer, interacting with kids, holding a pencil versus practicing letters on an iPad is very different, which is going to.
What would you, pleasure of the board?
K-12.
Would it be?
K-12, please.
I would like to see.
K-12 is a lot. Can we maybe?
I don't overburden you. It's
I know.
okay.
Can we
Just
start with
mention
K-5 then and then do 612?
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Because I think my other thought process is, when you're thinking about technology, they have to test in third grade on a computer. But K2, they don't. They don't have to test anything. So I think if there is an idea to curb it the highest, it's in that lower grade level. This is my personal opinion. And so when thinking about, having a tiered system of technology expectation in the district, which I think that would be better suited in policy versus a resolution, personally. But I don't necessarily disagree with some of the justification of this resolution, to say, what is that expectation based on K2, maybe 3, 5, 6, 8. And we've talked about some of the things and I've been able to help relay that in the community too, of saying, well, in middle school, we don't allow them to take it home. And most parents are like, thank goodness for that. I don't want my kid to have the computer, right? And so having these conversations is helpful for the community. But I think also having a framework for New Hanover County Schools could be beneficial, just to say, this is the expectation of K2 in our district. This is the expectation of 3, 5. So that parents who are considering where to send their kid to school, and they're thinking, oh, well, New Hanover County just uses technology. I don't want that. And I've had people say this to me. So being able to articulate this to people who were trusted for the kids' education. But I do agree to get feedback from our staff to say, what is that feasible expectation? Because you hear about a brain break dance song, and the teacher's not the one singing the song. They're going to put it on a play from a YouTube video to watch. That's a different setting than instructional time, in my personal opinion.
Right.
But things
That's
like
a
that.
brain break is what you
Right.
mentioned, yeah.
So those I know those things are taking place, and that's where my head is in this conversation piece of the why behind it. Because if we have an opportunity to curb, my opinion is at the younger grades, not the higher.
And our technology sustainability plan also is designed to sort of scale that back as well. But I think K-5, if that's the board's pleasure, it's probably going to be easier for me to do K-5 first, work out all the
Makes
kinks.
sense.
And then,
Yeah,
sure.
K-5 and then 612.
Look at that.
So you're going to do a framework, and it's going to start with K-5, and then it's go to 612 later. But this is the first stage.
I would say do K-5 in the fall and 612 in the spring.
That sounds good. Okay, next on our listing of things to do. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Can we put pre-K in there too? Because I know a little bit they use it. Do you think that's relevant? They don't
Pre-K
really
has
use
their
it, but-
own licensing requirements and standards. I would probably leave pre-K.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Good question. All right, carrying on. First off, I want to give a huge thank you to Ms. Bowie, because she put this all together for us. And not only put the listing out for the board meeting dates, of the dates, and for the agenda review and for the board meeting, but also why. Yes, it's also on your on your, right there, your documents. But, and basically, she also put to the right why, if there is a date that's not in normal.
Why it's weird, yeah.
Why it was, meeting date exceptions. The only one I saw that I had a question about and I wanted to bring to the board's attention is actually the first one, which is the agenda review being the 23rd of June versus the 30th. But it may be that, and again, a very good reason, because the week of June 30th through July 4th is the 4th of July week. So what is the pleasure of the board? Would you rather meet on the 30th or the 23rd? Yes.
Well, 23rd, only because I know everybody disappears, and we have the staff to consider too, and everything else. And just the reality, if you will. Everybody's gone.
Well, any other concerns along the way then?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, give you a second look at it. Give me a second to pull up the speech. Closed session. Yes, sir.
You want to try to maybe fill in that date what you want to do the,
Town hall?
well, we call it something else.
Yeah, the public hearing.
Public hearing.
What I'll do is I'll send that to her. It'll probably be, again, it's going to have to be before the August meeting, which is August 4th. We want to have it prior to that, so we're looking probably late July, I would imagine.
Okay, cool.
But I'll send out,
Well, keep in mind, there's some people actually are going to take vacations.
yeah, well, I'll send out, and again, we'd rather have the majority of the board there than, if we can't get all 7 of us, at least the majority of the board there. But I'll send it out as soon as possible, man.
As we go through, can we just say, yes, we agree to these or not? Like, are we agreed to the 23rd of June, and now we're saying we agree to
Well, is there any other concerns, overall? So if you have, this is a huge, not.
You're
hey, I'm
moving the
gonna get it
30th to
now.
the 23rd?
I'm sorry?
You're proposing to move the 30th to the 23rd?
Well, no, it's actually, it's, the agenda review is, yes, that's what is on the proposal letters. Instead of it being the 30th of June, it would be the 23rd of June.
I do have a conflict, I might have to
I
leave
do
early.
too.
But
I'd have to move it.
Well, I have no problem saying, we can say it the 30th, because that's not a huge thing. Is anybody going to be out the 30th?
I was just with the staff.
Yes, sir?
I haven't finalized that plans, but I was thinking about going to Boston in the Esplanade for a week up on the Esplanade to celebrate that 250th.
Okay, and so you would miss the 30th?
So I would rather go have it be the other 23rd.
Thank you.
Well, again,
It's fine. I mean, it's the will of the board. I mean, the quorum just has to be here, so, is there a quorum on the 30th?
I had that appointment for a long time. I can try to move it.
well, it's the will of the board. Like I said, we need 4 of us, but we seem to be better. That means that.
Yep.
So,
Who will take over the world?
you said you,
I have to leave early on the 3rd, but I can be for the most of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
And I might have to come late.
So between the two of us,
why don't we say the 30th then?
Well, because Ms. Barnhart will be here, so that's a whole board.
And he was
Sure
saying,
can't be here.
I might not be here.
yeah,
we
David
did
said
agree
he
to
might
this
not.
earlier.
You did what?
David said he might not be.
Okay, so.
When, the
Let's
30th?
leave it
The
at
30th.
All right, so let's leave
It's
it at
the
23rd, and we'll have half and half. Okay? All right, anything else you see as a concern? Going once, going twice, going 3
Thank you,
times?
Dr. Morrison, very much.
Sold. All right, thank you, Ms. Bowie.
That is great, thank you.
Yep, she's worked hard on that, appreciate that. All right, we are going to go to closed session at, don't think, well, let's make it formal.
Didn't we,
All right,
didn't we already vote on this before?
yes.
No, this is from last year. We voted last year.
Okay.
This is a different set of.
So I'd entertain a motion to accept the proposed 26, 27 board meeting dates.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, like sign. Good, passes 7-0. Now, here we go. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant on General Section 143, 318, 11 for the following purposes. to prevent disclosure of information as privileged or confidential pursuant to General Statute 115C 402, not considered public record within the meaning of 132 of the general statutes. Prevent disclosure of student records rendered confidential under the Family Education Rights, to consult with our attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the board, and to consider qualification, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment or conditions of initial employment of individuals employed or considered for employment within the school system, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual employee.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 All opposed, like sign. Passes 7-0. Let's go into close. We have about Board work is to accept the personnel report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
First and second, all in favor? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the personnel report, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We're all here, so that passes 7-0. All right, next, correspondence.
I have Gertie.
No, it's
Oh,
not, we
sorry.
don't have correspondence, it's
No
adjournment, sir.
correspondence.
You're looking at the wrong agenda, you're looking at the wrong agenda, sir. It's just adjournment. I move to adjourn.
I second.
Yeah.
I have 8 more minutes now.
No, you don't.
You're fine.
All right. All in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. No, it passes 6-1. We're out.